Hi, welcome to Thursday with a Friend. My name is Lawrence, and today I have a special guest. We had to do a little bit of switching around as my original guest, Andrew from Gady's Toys, was not able to make it. So, luckily for me, I was able to reach out to my guest for next week, and he said he had no problem swapping dates. So I'm really happy for that. It's going to happen. The amount that you get paid to do this, which is nothing, isn't very much. So anyway, my special guest who is gracious enough to switch dates, Talib, thank you very much.
Hey, I'm ready for you to. I'm ready for you. Oh, here we go. We're already chemistry's already sucking. No, I was gonna say I'm ready for you to Barbara Walters my ass.
Well, am I saying your name right, Talib?
It's Talib.
What is it?
Talib.
Talib?
Yeah. Did you ever pay attention to hip hop back in the day? The rapper Talib Kweli. That's where it came from.
Oh, you see,
and there's a story behind that. So
well, we're gonna get into it. So anyway, Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being gracious enough to swap dates. I know it's not always easy. I usually ask like months out in advance. People are like, I've never had anyone ask me this far ahead, but I like to give people a good chance to jump in. If they can't do it, then they can kind of let me know, just like what happened, no harm, no foul. So
it threw me off when you first messaged me. I'm like, how does he even know who the hell I am?
You're in the chat. You're in the chat all the time. I read I see everyone that pops up. I try and highlight everyone's name at least once when they jump in. Right. When I do my Monday night show, I don't always do it here because we're chatting and everything. But I believe me, I pay attention to everyone that shows up because it means a lot to me.
Right.
Again,
well, that's the other thing. When you engage like that, it means a lot to the people that are chatting with you.
Yeah,
because you get those little endorphins kind of kicking in. Like, yeah, you saw me. You saw what I had to say.
And not only that, but again, like, people are spending their free time watching what you're doing on YouTube, whether it be a pre-recorded video or whether it be a live stream, which is even more, time consuming for them. Because I know there are people that are waiting on Monday night for me, which is so crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's like I don't watch regular TV anymore. I used to be like big watching WWE. I try to keep up with that every week. Or in football season, it might change a little bit, but you can watch football and YouTube at the same time. But YouTube is pretty much my Monday through Sunday on what's on the TV.
It's funny because when I was picking a day to do my show, Monday was like, I really didn't worry too much about football because most toy collectors aren't real big sports fans.
True.
But wrestling was the one.
Yeah.
And, when there was talk about Monday Night Raw moving off Monday night, which would make no sense whatsoever, I was like, I made my jokes. I'm like, man, my little old show is getting them to switch their days.
They didn't switch days, but they reduced the time because they were competing with that 3 hours.
So how long do they go now?
I think it's only 2. Sometimes they might go over a little bit because they're on Netflix now, so they're a little bit. Their schedule's a little bit more free.
I know I watched like the first episode, which I thought was awful. I haven't watched wrestling in quite some time. It looks so dark and dingy, and it doesn't have the same feel that it used to. That's for sure.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, my Netflix even I'm like, man, I've been paying for Netflix for a few months now. I'm like, and I haven't watched anything because we've been watching everything either on Disney Plus or on Paramount. And I'm like, I hope one of my kids is watching something on Netflix because I'm paying for it. And there's a lot of stuff that I want to watch on Netflix. Yep. But it's like, it's nice out. And right now, if my daughter and I aren't watching a TV show, I turn on Justified. I'm almost due Justified again. Because it's easy. You just turn it on. I've already seen it before. You don't worry about missing something.
Right.
Where, you know how that goes.
Netflix is kind of like that ex that's really good at something and keeps coming back in your life, and then you stop paying for it for a little bit. That's kind of how it works for me.
You stop paying for it? Well, quickly, let me say hi to the chat. There's a lot of people here, 23 people watching.
Hey.
No, all of his links are in the description. So please head on over there, hit subscribe to his YouTube, his Instagram. But let's get into this. We have Chad N, who became a new channel member. Let's see, where's that at here? It is
Welcome to the Creamery.
So I think he did that last time. They just throw that up there. We got Jason Steele, Machine Man. We have Michael Gene Fleming. We have one moderator, Action Figs Ed, SES Dog, GI Bro, who has the best guns in the community. We have Menhoza, who at one time thought I hated him for some odd reason. Turk Murphy Toy Solutions, US Combat Dojo, Eric Thurman, Joe Fan 84, who I got to meet at Joe Fest kind of twice because we thought Joe Fan was Joe Hunter because we didn't hear what he said because it was so loud.
Right. Everybody should have like a name tag with their username on it when they go to conventions like that.
I've heard someone say that, and it's not a bad idea, but I'm like, everyone knows who I am, right? Like,
right. Well, yeah.
Rad Toys Galaxy, Frank Dumunia on in here. Let's see here. I think we're pretty much caught up there. Nolan, which makes us Toy Tube official. Let's see. Oh man. Evil Dookie, who will be a guest next month. I just haven't figured out anything to do with the dates yet. Viper Scout, who's always in here, is probably wondering when I'm going to do another Punk's Pit. It's going to come, I promise. I just got really busy with everything. So, all right.
That's usually like your members only show, right?
Yeah, and I do it like once a month, but I've just been so busy. And then Joe Fest came, and
right.
And then I got to other stuff because we kind of got behind on my other show. So I think I'm going to do it, I think, next Friday. But it sucks, man. I'm not saying it sucks to do it, but it's summer. It's like,
It's like, what day aren't you streaming?
Wednesday.
Okay. Unless there's like some juicy news, then you might hop on Wednesday with the crew, right?
Well, that was not my idea. I just want to say that is all Baldy's idea that he wanted to do that. And he's like, hey, let's do the special missions. I'm like, why not? Yeah. Last month was supposed to be like an easy month with Joe Fest. There's a big gap I won't be on. Man, I was on more than
right. It's fun watching you and Baldy go back and forth at it. It's just like, like you guys are brothers or something, or an old married couple, one of the two.
I don't know if I want to be married to him. I don't know if I want to be his brother either, but I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, your name, Talib1980, right? I said it right?
Yeah.
Talib.
Wait, Talib. Yeah, Talib.
Yeah, I'll be calling you Talib.
I don't, and it doesn't bother me. Just I tell everybody, just say whatever's easier.
I think I used to say Talib, and I thought someone told me that it was wrong, or maybe I heard it pronounced elsewhere, and that's why I stopped.
Yeah.
But I like emphasizing Talib. Well, where does your name come from? Because you kind of started.
All right. So there was a game called Final Fantasy 11, and it was an online massive multiplayer, whatever. It's like WoW, basically. And you had to create a character name, and I was like, I don't know what the hell to create. So at the time, I was listening to Talib Kweli, so I named my character in the game Talib Kweli, and the name Talib just kind of stick with all my usernames on whatever gaming system I played on. So I didn't want to do Talib Kweli every time, so I just left Talib and then added the year I was born to it.
Yeah, I figured that was the year you were born.
Yeah.
Already
doxing myself. There's one question answer to get some of my in some of my accounts.
Well, I gotta ask you this: what is your real name, if you don't mind me asking?
Ron.
Ron.
I mean, people have already finding me on Facebook already. I have like my own like account Facebook page, but I'm getting like random friend requests from people I don't know who the hell they are on my personal account, which that doesn't bother me, but at the same time, I'm like, freaking stalkers. I see you looking me up.
I used to always accept everyone. that would send me a Facebook request. And there's other groups from well before I was doing YouTube, that I was in groups. And then after all the stuff kind of started going down and people were sending me false copyright strikes, I was just like, you know what? I need to remove all these people I've never had like a conversation with. When people add me now, because I don't talk about toys on my Facebook page. It's my personal one. So if I've never had like an actual conversation with you or some sort of dealing, I'm not adding anyone else. So if anyone that's added me, if you're wondering why I haven't responded, that's the reason.
I see your picture all the time. It's like, hey, you should add him as a friend. I'm like, I know the face. Now I know his name, but I think it's not creepy, but I don't know. If you know me through social media, shoot me a message and tell me who you are on social media, because I think we're more familiar, unless you go to a convention and run into them, you're more familiar with their screen name than you are their real name. And most of the time you're getting that friend request from their real name, not their screen name.
And that's something we've discussed. And Oz was the first one that brought it up when we went to PowerCon. He was like, hey, if anyone comes up to me, don't come up and say, hey, I'm Ron, because it's like, if I've never seen you before, I'm not going to. Now, I think I can go up to most people and say that I'm Lawrence, and I think most people at a G.I. Joe convention are going to be able to associate the two of who I am.
I know there's a bunch of bald guys at those cons, right?
Yeah, but no one is
there's
short
a bunch
as
of
I
them
am.
screaming. Huh? Oh, okay.
No one is short as me. But I still get it. They're like, wow, you really are short. I'm like, do you think I just make this up?
Right.
And then, like, I know when people have seen the pictures, I think even Spec, when Tony put something in the chat when we were at Joe Fest, and Spec was like, I didn't realize he was that short. Which made me think, so you've never looked at any of my other pictures from Joe Fest or stuff?
Right.
So anyway, do you mind me asking where you grew up at and how old are you? Well, you said.
Oh, well, this might cause some turmoil, but I'm what you call one of those Ohio fucks.
Well, so's Hell Up Toys.
That's right. But yeah, grew up pretty much in a small town, Ohio, middle of nowhere, right around Dayton, Ohio. That's about as close as I'll get. Not that I have to worry about anybody stalking me, but
you've always wanted to move to Michigan, right?
It's too cold up there, and
is that different here than there?
So what do you think causes so much animosity between Michigan and Ohio? Is it the college football?
It's college, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's college, and it's also Toledo.
Yeah.
I was watching. It was like the history of Michigan, like on YouTube. Believe it or not, I can't watch toy tubing all day, and this whole thing on like the history of Michigan came on, and they talked about Toledo, and Toledo was once part of Michigan, but to become the 26th state, there was a battle between it. So I believe it was the president said, you give Toledo here, we'll give you the Upper Peninsula, which in turn made Wisconsin mad because Wisconsin wanted the Upper Peninsula, which makes sense because it's connected to them. So, and nobody wanted it. Well, Michigan didn't really want it. They took it. Now it's just, it's become a tourist destination in many ways. But
so is there as big of a feud between Wisconsin and Michigan because of that still?
No. I don't. Maybe in the Upper Peninsula, because a lot of the people in the Upper Peninsula they're fans of Green Bay Packers rather than the Detroit Lions. Right. With that said, that's kind of on the Lions themselves for sucking since 1957.
Right.
Other than the past couple years when they've been pretty good.
Oh, I know the feeling. I've been a Bengals fan, so.
You've been a what?
Yeah, a Bengals fan.
Oh, but you've been to the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah.
Once up here in Michigan.
Three times. They lost all three of them.
Is it 3 times?
Yeah, twice in the 80s and once, what 5 years ago?
Not too long ago, yeah. No, I think most of it comes from the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry.
Well, I know down here we had a lot of transplants from the Big Three because at least in Dayton area, there was a lot of car manufacturing and parts suppliers.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of Michigan, at least in my area, a lot of Michigan transplants. So it's really funny when you talk about the whole Michigan-Ohio State rivalry. There's a lot of Michigan fans down here. Surprisingly, a lot of Michigan fans down here.
And before you didn't see as many Ohio State fans, you're starting to see more now because Michigan was so bad for so long. But you also have the split of Michigan State. So you do have, I wouldn't say 50-50 because Ann Arbor is closer than Lansing for Michigan State.
Right.
So to the Detroit area, Michigan is closer. There's more fans. But while Michigan wasn't good and Michigan State was, you gained all those younger fans. So there is way more of a split now. But, Ohio, you really don't have anything other than Ohio State. I mean, I know there's other colleges, but like Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan, they don't count. Like you went there if you root for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% correct. It's the same way in Ohio. I mean, Cincinnati University's had some good football teams, but it's not to the caliber of what.
Well, the Big Ten, SEC, it's a different world. They can
love this football talk.
People love it, and to piggyback on that, you've seen the college football players that
NIL
Harvest is doing. Harvest Studios, who does Savage Crucibles.
Yeah, the collegiate legends.
Collegiate, yes. So I asked him about Michigan, and the one guy that's there, he works in Farmington Hills, Michigan, and the girl kind of went off, and she's like, "We can't do them. We've tried. They were one of the first ones they wanted." And he's like, "You ever notice that this Ohio State's always in a bad position because he doesn't like Ohio State either?"
Mm-hmm.
Michigan gave them permission to do it. The only problem is they said, "Yeah, you can do it, but you have to have the Jordan, a Jumpman on it."
Oh, right.
And they're like, "We're not paying for that." So, and until they let that go, and I think with Ohio State being in there,
it's going to rub them the wrong way. Yeah.
Now, and they also said like Notre Dame, they can't do. They said Notre Dame and the list of things that they can't do. Notre Dame will not license their product out to anything that's made in China. Taiwan. There was someone out somewhere else. There was all this kind of list, but the whole Michigan one is being held up by the Jumpman because they're like, you have to have the Jumpman on it.
Did the other ones have Nike on them? Because I know.
No, I don't think so.
So they're not specifically requesting that. Well, the other thing with Notre Dame, they're a pain in the butt anyways because they don't want to join a conference. They want to stay independent.
Believe me, I feel you should leave them out. You know what? Okay, you just stay out there. No one needs you.
And hope good teams want to play you in their schedule to just help boost your numbers. Yeah,
they're going to be they're going to get screwed in the end, no matter how you look at it.
Right.
So anyway, you're from Ohio. Hey, do you still live in Ohio?
Yeah. Okay. I still live in Ohio. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. I don't think. I got kids here. Just
It is funny because it's funny that Ted does that whole Ohio like that. They're in Columbus,
right?
Like, they are in Columbus, Ohio, and Ed knows my feelings on it.
I've heard some of your comments, so I understand. That's why I couldn't wait till you asked where I was from. I was waiting.
I don't shy away from it, Right. But hey, we also don't take the M out of everything the week of Ohio State either.
But yeah, that's football fans for you. They're a bunch of crybabies. Like, I'm a football fan, but I'm not like that.
And I agree with you on all that, but it is what makes college football so unique.
Right. That's why it's one of the highest watched games every year.
Yeah, you look at how Alabama acts, how all the whole SEC acts. You see how, Ohio State, they won't even say Michigan. They say they team up north, which I think is stupid. And then Brady
put an X instead of an M. That's the one that's caught on here lately.
Yeah, but you know what? I will give them credit because they have the band, the Dead Schembechlers, and they've always sang, uh, eh, they've always sang when they were in Ohio, like when they played in Columbus, and Bo Schembechler died right before, so
Mhm.
like right before the game, like that weekend, and for that weekend they changed their name to just the Schembechlers rather than the
Oh,
dead. Which to me, like, it's not like you named it the Dead Schembechlers after he died. Like that was always
right.
so. I mean, I didn't think that would have been rude, but it's like it's kind of cool
Yeah.
that you did say, hey, you know what? It's just a game.
Yep. For 1
We
year,
all
we'll
know it's
let it
not.
slide. Yeah.
But when you've lost, like when you lose like 18 out of 19,
Yeah.
oh, it hurts. It
I,
hurts.
and I kind of have relaxed on college up until now because I hated the whole system. I thought the BCS was garbage, and now that they actually have legitimate playoffs and you have teams that might have had a better chance to win, it's opened up. So I'm paying a little bit more attention to it now, but I'm not like diehard
I
Buckeyes or whatever.
I actually like the old system where
Really,
before the BCS, I like that every single game counted. Now it's like Ohio State didn't even beat Michigan. They didn't even make it. They didn't even
right,
make it to the conference championship, and they won the national championship. They shouldn't. They should not have been there. You know, and I'm not saying they weren't better than Michigan, even though they lost to them. They were
right.
clearly a better team. But it's like that's what made college football to me so special.
Yeah,
Every single game counted. But oh well, it's the way of the world. Everything's run by money. We see it,
yeah,
right?
yeah. They
It
saw the
has
dollar
been.
signs. As much as they wanted to say they didn't want to stress the kids out, they saw the dollar signs when they could add
Well,
more kids
yeah.
to good games.
Calling them college athletes or student athletes,
Yeah.
come on, that's the biggest load of crap.
Yep.
And the NC2A, they did it to themselves by not paying players. Now they don't even know what to do, and the NC2A is going to be. I think they're going to be done with football really soon. I think most people
Really.
think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're just going to control the other. I don't even know if they'll be controlling basketball. College football, like the SEC and Big Ten, have pretty much told them, "Hey, you guys are almost done. Like we are going to create a super conference, and this is
Right.
how we're going to do it."
I'm surprised it's taking this long for them to do that.
I am too. I am too.
And
Um,
and I would imagine the NFL is pressuring the NCAA or the schools to keep the kids in college long enough to use them as their developmental league, basically, and not call it that, but that's what they're using it for.
the NFL has a free developmental league,
Yep.
and you can't argue it like college football. There it is. You got to be there 3 years, and
Yep.
you don't get out of it, right? Like,
Yep.
and if somebody tries to skip, one of the seasons, they're not getting drafted high.
Nope.
That's what
I mean,
happened
look what
to
Claret.
Claret. Yeah.
Yep. I was thinking the same thing. Dude washed out.
Yeah.
Should have
And he
stayed.
wasn't even that good. I mean, he was good for college, but it was like,
Yep.
dude, like you wanted to make your money, and if you can get paid, I'm not gonna begrudge anyone, especially like the basketball players.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if they stayed longer.
Yep.
Considering they go for 1 year and they're not even there to go to school.
Right. Yeah. What are they doing in 1 year? There can't be much. They're getting
Yeah, not much. So anyway, enough sports ball. I know people are probably like, "Oh my gosh," but this is what this show is about, right? It's about
Right.
getting to know you. So growing up in Ohio, you were born in 1980, so it makes you just about
I am
5 years younger.
44. I'll be
44.
45 next month.
All right. So, do you have any siblings? How were your parents together?
No, I was mother had I was out of wedlock. I grew up for the first 12 years of my life without a brother or sister.
Okay.
Then she got married or remarried or whatever, and that's when I got my first siblings. So I have a younger brother and a younger sister.
All right. So you had no built-in play friends growing up.
Nope. It was me, myself, and I, or
Which
the
isn't
friends
always
down the street.
which isn't always the worst thing. I mean,
Right.
so do you remember like the first Do you remember like your first memory of your first toys? Not like the first toys you fell in love with, but like I know for me, Adventure People, Hot Wheels. That's normally what I hear.
Right.
What about for you? Because if you're born in '80, your first thoughts may have been like Star Wars and stuff like that.
So my grandmother was an avid garage sailor. So like when I would come to my grandparents' house, I had like a little bit of everything. Like I remember I remember the Star Wars stuff. I remember what was it, Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
Oh, I love Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
I had this big ass Rodan that I think is super expensive right now. I wish I still had it. What was those weird Star Wars or not Star Wars? Those space figures that had like the elbows that looked like the things you would collapse. I'm sure somebody in the chat will know what it is. It was like
Ed. Yeah, this is you.
It was weird, like 70s space shit that I would have over here. But I mean, it was a little bit of everything from like 80s stuff. Like
you kind of have just like I mean, if your grandmother was a garage sailor, she was probably picking things up that it's 50 cents or whatever, and there it is just sitting there when you get there to play with, and you have no idea as a kid.
Yeah,
so
when I was that young, it wasn't until probably like G.I. Joe maybe that I remember, or G.I. Joe or He-Man, whatever came first.
Major Matt Masson.
That's it.
Mason from Mattel.
Yep.
Ed is like you get in anything that's like before the 80s. And I don't want to besmirch his knowledge of stuff after the 80s, but stuff before the 80s, man.
Yeah.
He's always coming in with it.
And I remember having that big green tackle box full of G.I. Joes, the 12-inch G.I. Joes, and just a crap load of clothes. Changing it out of them.
I got one of those later on in life from my uncle, who was he was a garage sales, a garbage picker. He was in a motorcycle gang, one of those guys that he knew how to find stuff. Like, I don't know. He found a samurai sword that he sold for $150,000.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I found this out like years later through a cousin. And then I asked my cousin, she's like, you didn't know that? And I'm like, nope. He bought it for like $50, sold it to a Japanese museum for like $150,000. And the only reason why they figured it out was he lived in Warren, and it talked about a Warren man that picked up a sword for like $50 at a garage sale and sold it for $150,000. And my cousin was like, yeah, and Uncle Wally and everyone, they just went to Disney World on a vacation out of nowhere right around that time.
Did they find out the history of the sword? Like when it was?
I have no idea.
Made?
I have no idea.
I mean, even missing out on that, just to know the history of it would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, but I mean, I found out about this, as an adult,
right?
And this was when they were kids. Like when I guess we were kids. But one day he said, "Hey, he goes, I got something for you," and he gave me a Foot Locker, and it was beat up, had 2 G.I. Joes and a bunch of clothes in it, and then. Years later, he had asked me if I still have it. And I was like, no, I don't have it. He was like, oh, okay. I said, why? He was like, well, I was going to ask for it back if you still had it. My dad said, if your Uncle Wally is asking for something back, you do not give it back. It means that he knows that it's worth something.
Right.
So, all right. So you kind of remember having a mismatch of all kinds of things when you were younger, but what was the first toys that you fell in love with?
I want to say Masters of the Universe, but at the same time, like, I didn't like them. Like, because I remember, so my grandmother got injured from like a hospital or something like that, and she got like a settlement or whatever. And when I would come over, I'd always have like new He-Man. I always remember I have a bunch of He-Man figures, but it really wasn't until I'm going to say G.I. Joe was mine. As soon as I started getting into G.I. Joe, I had a lot of stuff with G.I. Joe.
So you think like G.I. Joe is like your true love for toys,
right? Yeah, because that's the one thing I remember like as a kid more than anything. I had Transformers. Like, I'm a big Transformers fan right now. Like, that's my thing. But
That's why I use
GI
that
Joe's,
song.
right? But GI Joe's was when I was a kid, and even now is more, more what hits me, the nostalgia or whatever.
And I want to say I use that song, and I'm like, I hope he doesn't think I'm saying that he's stupid.
No. I know what the song.
I assume because
I
you have a Transformer. I'm like,
right.
I hope he knows this.
Yeah, I got it. That's why I put, when I reposted it or whatever, I put Retgar on it because he was the.
Oh yeah. You did. Yeah, I didn't even put those two together. No, I kind of feel like the same way. Like, I had a lot of other stuff too. I had some He-Man stuff, Transformers, but the reason why I had have so much GI Joe stuff still is that was what I focused on. I'm sure if I wanted Motu, I would have had Motu stuff rather than GI Joe, and then I could tell stories about having Eternia and not the flag. But you feel GI Joe was like that one you just fell in love with.
Yeah, as a kid for sure. Just because, and we've all said it: the play sets, the figures, everything, the vehicles, the world building aspect of GI Joe. Like, I remember, like, my mother's apartment. Like, I was an only child, so I had my own room. One side of the room, all the Cobras were set up. Other side of the room, all the Joes were set up, and they'd meet in the middle and duke it out.
So was that the reason why you fell in love with GI Joe, for the vehicles and the play sets, or was there anything else?
Yeah, they were just cool.
No military aspect to it that drew you to it, just that.
No, I think I was still young enough to where I didn't think about the military aspect of it, because it might be blasphemy for some people, but I don't remember much of the comic books at all. It was all Sunbow for me. So what, that hokey ass cartoon back in the day, I was sucking that and eating it up.
I mean, I know I rag on that when people are like, I want, they should be Sunbow. They've never done it properly. It's like, no, they do it properly. The Sunbow wasn't proper. But I also know that a lot of people, they never read the comic. Yeah. Like their GI Joe lore, which is not the true lore, is the cartoon. But
right.
As much as I don't, and
I think it all depends on how old you were at the time when the product started coming out.
Yeah,
because you're a couple years older than me, right?
Yeah, 5 years.
So you had more of a mature brain. You were probably in 84. Probably in 84 or 85. I wasn't reading a whole lot to begin with.
Yeah.
So the comic books weren't in my ballpark at that time, where someone that's maybe 4 or 5 years older than me could and was reading the comic books and playing with the toys at the same time.
So then what was it about? I mean, you have all this Motu. How come it wasn't? Why didn't that grab you?
I don't remember why. It just didn't grab me. Like, because even now when I think about getting like I saw that animated Skeletor. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I should pick that up because I remember watching Motu. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll grab something else. It's just, and I had almost everything from Motu. I remember having Grayskull, the Snake Mountain, the Slime Pit, the everything, and it didn't stick like G.I. Joe did.
And again, like, you look at Motu, they had probably as much world building, almost as much world building as G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Because you had the G.I. Joe headquarters, and then eventually comes the Terrordrome. But I feel like more people had Snake Mountain and Castle Grayskull than the Terrordrome or the headquarters.
Yeah. Well, then you look back, like, didn't Motu have like a peak of like 1 or 2 years, and then it tanked
because of She-Ra
and that weird space shit that they did afterwards?
People get so mad at me, but have you ever watched the Toys That Made Us?
Yeah.
Like that year that She-Ra came out, and I don't think that's what it was, but it really it needles at people when you say it. But it is crazy because they went from like, it was like 500 million to like 10 million sales. Right. Like, I've never seen anything like that. It's amazing that they could do something like that.
Yep.
It's kind of like what BlackBerry did.
Who?
Exactly. Exactly.
I bought one of those turds.
Oh, I love my Blackberries. I had a whole bunch of Blackberries through work.
Yeah.
And I love.
Oh yeah, through work. Yeah, but
yeah, like I'd go to the gym and I toss it on the ground. Never had anything like a protector. Never worried about that thing. Then you get an iPhone and you're like, okay, hold on.
I gotta cover it in freaking bulletproof plastic and glass that doesn't shatter.
Even though it's called Gorilla Glass or whatever it is, yet if it hits the wrong way, the thing just splinters all over the place. And here's your co-host figure.
Oh, look at Avi.
All right, so you fall in love with G.I. Joe. Are you still, like, as a kid, are you still getting stuff, or is it kind of?
I got stuff all the way up to I think Ninja Force. Then once Ninja Force was kicking around, I think I got out of it, and I don't know if I was still into Ninja Turtles at the time, but I know Ninja Turtles took over after Joe's. Big time Ninja Turtles. I can remember my first Ninja Turtle before I can remember my first G.I. Joe.
And you were like right in the, because like Turtles were like, I was on my way out. I say this like almost every person I talk to, especially younger people. Turtles were like,
I was 8 or 9 when Turtles hit.
Yeah, so that's like I'm skateboarding. I don't care, and I've said it before. I remember in middle school, someone having the Turtles comic book that was all in black and white, and I was like, wow, this is not what I seen on on TV. Right. Like, oh no, it's completely different. And, you didn't know the different, the different headbands and stuff like that. So I kind of knew that, but I didn't know anything about it because that was, again, my focus was riding that skateboard.
So the same thing with Turtles. I know more of the cartoon than the comic book. I always thought it was weird because on the packaging for the Ninja Turtles, there was images on there where they were all the red bandanas. They were all the same bandanas.
Yeah.
And I was like, why was that? Like that doesn't match what I'm seeing on TV.
They look so much cooler though, too. Like they were just, they looked more mean. But I also didn't know anything about the lore. And I can say even watching the cartoon, it was fun cartoon. It's like campy cartoon, right? Like that you don't really think too much about it.
Yep.
That's how G.I. Joe was.
At the same time, like we just mentioned with G.I. Joe about marketing, those different headbands, that was marketing. So parents and kids alike would have to have all of them instead of, I have the red bandana guy. I don't need anymore.
And how many reiterations have they done of Turtles?
That's the line. That's the line, whatever that doesn't die because they keep reinventing themselves.
That and Transformers.
Yep.
I keep saying about Transformers. I go, how hard is it to sell to a kid? Hey, it's a car that turns into a fucking robot. Like that's not a hard sell. Like I'm sorry. Like it's a car. It's a robot. Oh, it's both. Oh shit.
And then when you add in all the unlicensed stuff from Transformers,
I am glad I don't collect it.
It's like, so a lot of my content, my daily content is just posting news and updates.
I can see a lot of Transformers in the back.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty much all Transformers. My Joes are over here. But there's always news.
Do you ever watch Tidarium?
Yep. I usually watch it. He's my Sunday or my Monday commute to work. I usually listen to him every morning.
So I haven't watched him in a long time. I used to watch him all the time just for news. And I always found it out. Like I'd watch he'd have like a 25-minute video and I swear 17 of it would be all Transformers.
Yeah.
And you're looking at his name and you're like, that is a Star Wars name.
Right.
And
his intro is the shuttle, the tri-wing shuttle from Star Wars.
It's crazy how many knockoffs, third party Transformers there are. And I'm just like,
I call them third party, not knockoffs.
I'm sorry, the third parties. That's right.
You get in a conversation with Transformer fans or third party collectors. Jesus Christ, if you call them the wrong thing, you can start World War III.
Knockoffs are come from AliExpress. Those are knockoffs. But you are right. Like I know people do get mad, and even when they did the fans hobby, and did that, the not Skyhawk. It's a knockoff. I'm sorry. You can say whatever you want. It's a knockoff. But I guess I do understand knockoff is recreating something that is actually that.
Right.
Taking Optimus Prime and stealing the mold.
That's usually how the Transformers collectors count it as. If it's a 1-for-1 copy of an original product, then it's a knockoff. And they give it this fancy name and they call it fourth party. I'm serious. Like if you go to like some of them third party or whatever those third party sellers, there's a section called fourth party and it's got the knockoffs in it.
Wow. Yeah, I've realized every single being in the G.I. Joe community, they all have some fucked up people.
Right.
We're just
what is it? We're fans. What's fans short for?
Fanatic.
Yeah.
It should be called idiots. I'm sorry if I see another post bitching about the HasLab and like, oh my god, dude, can't you just piggyback on one of the other 84 that are in this group right here? Yep. Please, like, save us all. You're just polluting my timeline full of shit, and then you have people that will post it in every single group, and you're like,
yeah,
I just saw
just to get those clicks or that validation.
Yeah. And then they say, I'm not complaining. Like, you posted this in 5 different groups that I'm in. I don't know about other groups. And it's the exact same word for word. And we're all in the same damn group. So it's not like we didn't see it.
Right.
So as you go into, like, let's say you're going from elementary school, when you go into middle school, you're still playing with toys.
I don't know if I'm playing with them, but I might be picking stuff up every now and then.
Okay.
Because I remember getting like the like the X-Men stuff. What was it? Toy Biz. I remember having some of those because I found those not that long ago. So I think that's about the time that I transitioned from toys to video games.
Okay.
And video games were still there in the Nintendo area, like I remember one year for Christmas getting Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, and Simon's Quest 2, along with like Transformers. So that was still in the 80s. And then it wasn't until like, what was it, 94 or 93 when the Nintendo 64 came out. That was when I was prime video games, and I really wasn't messing with toys. The BioVac.
So there's someone that posted a video today about why the HasLab failed, which it hasn't failed. And 30 seconds into it, he says, he talks about, the BioVac. And I'm like, what? Like, you literally just made something up that started with a B.
I don't know why everybody would be upset with the BioVac. They can sew their patches to that BioVac.
We talked about it I think on Tuesday. Like, this is perfect. You can put your patches on it, or you can make new patches with it.
Yeah.
So and it was 30 seconds into it. I'm like, oh, I can't take you serious. And believe me, I screw up it. I screw names up or whatever. I screw words up. You didn't screw up the word. It's bivouac. Right. You literally made something up. Yep. BioVac. Like, all right. Like, I don't think you want that.
And it's probably somebody that's uninformed. They probably didn't even like listen to the stream to actually hear them say how to pronounce it, or to just, do any research to know what that thing's called.
Even the guy that called it Serpentor instead of Serpentor, at least you got like it right. Like this, like. Yeah. There's nothing biohazardous about that. All right. It's to protect the wind from one side. That's it. Yep. Gun Bunny's jumping in here quickly.
I love his Instagram. All that Tiger Force stuff he does. Good God, man.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Tiger Force like he is.
Because you're older, right? You were at that age when Python Patrol and Tiger Force wasn't as cool.
But what he does is amazing. I mean,
I'm jealous of these guys that can do artwork like that. It's
the guys that do customs, like I've done some, and they're as basic is. And people are like, hey, you know what? You could do it. You just got to take the time. I'm like, I don't have the time to learn how to do it.
Right.
But again, I'm also trying to do other things, and I could say the same thing about them doing YouTube or whatever. Like, you just got to take the time and like, hey, I don't want to learn how to do that. I'm focused on this. His stuff he does is amazing. I mean, he even tried to make a Vanguard look good, which is I gotta commend him on that one.
I think you were almost convinced. Looking in your eyes, you were almost convinced.
I was convinced that it looked amazing. The detail on it. Hey, my Vanguard, just for the record, my Vanguard review was not that bad. I actually went back and watched it. I'm like, I was actually pretty nice on it compared to what a lot of other people said.
Right.
So I find as in middle school, I feel like we were all playing with toys, but most of us were hiding it. And then years later, you're like, oh, wow, everyone was still playing with toys, yet we were all hiding it.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you felt with it?
I think a little bit, but it helped because I transitioned into like playing video games, and video games were, they're still kind of thought of probably by your parents that they're toys, but to your peers, not so much.
Exactly. They were accepted. Now it's completely different, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so when you would have had, so did you have Nintendo or were you already into Super Nintendo?
See, I had Nintendo longer, and I had the Super Nintendo for a little bit, but maybe a few years, and then I worked and got a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo 64. So I didn't have the Super Nintendo whenever Donkey Kong Country came out. So that was a few years after the Super NES was out, because that was the Super NES I got, was the one that was with Donkey Kong Country.
Yes. Kyle, we know you weren't born when half the people were. How some of us were graduated having kids and you still weren't born.
Right.
And that's not a joke.
No, I've talked to him. I've streamed with him. So yeah, I know Alpha.
Yeah, he's coming on in a couple weeks actually. He's like, I'll be off work by then. I'm like, all right, good, dude. I'm glad you can make time for me, you 24-year-old. No, like so like the video games, I was always a Nintendo guy. I went from Nintendo to Super Nintendo, 64. I had the original Game Boy that was in black and white and big and bulky. And then I got the GameCube. But at that time, like, my son plays video games and he's like, oh wow, why don't you play? I'm like, because I don't need something else to suck me into it. It is real easy to.
I try to play with my kid as much as I can because he's really into Fortnite right now, and so I like playing it. Like, I'm not the best at it, but I'm better than him still. He's only like 9. He's only 8 years old, so 9 years old.
Who cares?
He's only 9 years old, so he still hasn't quite caught up to my gaming stats.
And you still,
even though he thinks he can.
You still talk trash to him, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then
when he screws up and leaves me and then I die and it's all his fault, 100% I bust his balls.
And when you tell people at work and they're like, you realize he's only 9, and you're like, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care.
They want to be streamers right now. He needs to suck it up and get good.
It's kind of like I have a Dodge Journey, and I say, like, it's kind of like when I race a Corvette and I beat it, but the Corvette's turning left and it also didn't know we were racing.
Right.
It doesn't change the fact that I beat it.
Right. He gave up, sucker.
But that's one of those. It's one of those unique things that, and then once they get better, you're like, I'm not playing with you anymore.
Right. Or carry me, son. Let's get this win.
Exactly. All right. So as you go into high school, are you reading comics? I'm assuming if you are collecting toys, by this time you're hiding it. Probably.
Yeah. Oh no, no toys by high school. I'm still playing video games though. It's still probably the Nintendo 64, but then I know PlayStation. Whenever PlayStation came around, then I was all in on Sony PlayStation. Probably partially through its life cycle. Comic books, I read a little bit in the 90s, but not a whole lot. like right around like Maximum Carnage, Executioner song. So I think that might have been middle school time. Like that was early '90s stuff.
Yeah, that was like, God, I'm trying to think.
I was more into the Marvel trading cards. That got me into comics more than the actual comic books themselves.
Really?
Yeah, from like 90 to 95, I think I almost had like every set of Marvel trading cards.
See, I don't remember any of that. Like, I remember baseball cards, Garbage Pail Kids.
Yep. Dinosaur Attacks. Do you remember that?
No, not at all.
You don't remember Dinosaur Attacks? They were all like R-rated cards almost, where it was like this. It was based off of like a 50s or 60s. I think they were cards back then, but they were real graphic. Like you had one where like this dinosaur was just attacking the school bus and picking kids out and eating the kids. It was all graphic.
Not
you
at
remember
all.
the movie? You remember the movie Mars Attacks?
Yes.
So that was the first card set, and then there was a Dinosaurs Attacks card set after that. And they were going to make a movie, but the Mars Attacks movie bombed. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this right. And they never made a Dinosaurs Attack movie. If you ever get a chance, you should look up Dinosaur Attack cards.
Oh, I'm going to now.
They were for kids, and they were graphic.
Yeah, see, I went from like you said, we had baseball cards and the baseball books, Garbage Pail Kids. Those were the big ones.
Yep.
And then I got into skateboarding, and the next cards that I remember were this fucking Magic the Gathering that my friend got into, and I mean, he was a D&D guy, smartest guy that we ever hung out with. And even on his Facebook recently, in last year, he his wife, he posted about like one of his kids asking to play Magic or learn how to, and his wife made a comment and said you could see the sparkle in his eye when he asked. And I'm like, oh, I know it because I watched him when we were like, hey, show us how you play this, and then we were all like, I hate this.
Yeah, I had a cousin try to show me how, and I just never grasped the concept of it.
No, we got into because Star Wars has one. Well, they had one. I think they still have it. And we tried playing that, and again, we just got into Star Wars. So we bought all the Star Wars stuff. I still have them all downstairs. I really need to go find them and see like, are any of these worth money? Because I don't care about them.
And I think at the time there was a lot of card companies trying to mimic what Magic was doing. I remember like Marvel had like this one called like X-Men or Overpower or something like that.
Yeah,
I guess having some of those.
The fact that Magic is still around and it still is, I mean, it is the Dungeons and Dragons of card games.
Right.
And then you saw Pokemon, which is still going strong. Literally parents fighting and adults fighting for it. And
during the big V, as I call it, or other people call it, I remember going to Target to like find Joe's and like see all these people gathered around the card section. I'm like, what the hell's going on over here? And then finding out, oh, they're fighting over Pokemon. All right, as long as they're not in the toy aisle getting in my way.
So Viper Skull says Overdrive and DC was compatible. Again, one thing that the Pokemon people and the Hot Wheels people have done for us is that when people say, oh yeah, you're one of those Joe collectors, and we can say, oh, not Hot Wheels at least. Hey, I'm not Pokemon at least, right? Can back off at least a little bit. Like we know those people are way worse than us. So what else are you doing in high school? Do you play sports or anything like that, or?
No, I wasn't really into sports. I played baseball for a little bit when I was in like elementary, middle school, but I just lost the desire to do that. And pretty much, I don't know. Maybe I was a loner. Maybe I wasn't. Then I found like a friend group in high school. And then, we hung out.
Any music scene or anything?
So that's what I was thinking as we was talking about as getting older. So like I think I've always been like a collector. And I remember when I got my first boombox, and then it was on to CDs. And at the time, Tupac was pretty popular, and I was a fan of Tupac and a lot of the hip hop back then. Still am now because the new stuff sucks, but I can listen to about anything. But I remember like hip hop was my go-to when I was early teens,
Okay.
into my 20s.
So,
But
oh no, go on.
and I was going to say, and then usually like, so at that point, my grandfather had a stroke, and I moved in with him because he lived in town that was closer to school, and I was helping him throughout the day or in the evening when I wasn't in school. And then a lot of times, like whatever money I earned from that or doing chores around here or mowing his yard and stuff like that, I would put that money into like CDs, video games, and just stuff that I collected then.
That's a lot of responsibility for you to be in high school, come home, and helping out with your grandfather.
Well, and part of it was a little bit selfish because at the time, all right, so you remember I said I was up until I was about 12 years old, I was an only child.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had a younger brother and sister, and in my teenage years that I just was annoyed by them. So it was kind of nice to get out of the house from two brat kids. And I mean, at that point, I'm like 14 or 15 years old. So,
well, I have a stepdaughter that's 9 years older than my oldest son.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my only son, not my oldest, my only son, but from my oldest. And yeah, I understand, because I watched how it's cute at first when they're little, but as soon as they can move around and want to be on them or around them all the time, then they're annoyed, and it just becomes they just want to spend some time with you. And you have to think back to when you were a teenager and be like, I didn't want to be around little brats.
Right.
And when you're a teenager, 2 years is huge, let alone, like you said, 12 years.
Yeah.
So I understand. I watched it. I did watch it, so I understand what you're saying. And my son has this weird memory. He's like, Emily and I get along great. I'm like, really? Because Emily said the last day she lived there with you, she smacked you. That's when after their mom and I split up, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if it was as great as you think it was.
Right.
So you're helping take care of your grandfather, and you said you were getting paid for it. So you're buying, and again, I love the fact that you brought that up. And that's another thing that I really think, for the most part, when you're a collector, you're a collector. As a kid, I would take everyone's old skateboards and I'd hang them on my wall. It wasn't like they were brand new skateboards. I didn't look at it collecting, but when I look back at it now, I was like, I was collecting skateboards.
Right.
You didn't realize it, but that bug is bad.
I mean, like we've hit it all. Cards, whatever type of trading cards there were, cards. I know I had those. All the books, binders, video games, CDs, music, and even toys still. So, I mean, not toys as much, but I still had some of my old stuff.
Yeah, I was the same way. Like, again, we were skateboarders, so it's like we're already at the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
What?
Movies. I was a
big DVD collector. I still am, and I'm looking at them going, I can't remember the last time I pulled out a DVD and watched it.
Yeah.
It's very...
We're so spoiled with streaming right now. Or we can put the digital copy on our hard drive.
I tend to say, I'm like, if I'm flipping through the TV and I see The Bourne Identity, any of the Bournes, I'm going to watch it. I can't remember the last time I was flipping through the TV. Probably the last time I probably turned TV on is to watch football.
It's like, I don't know if you paid, like if you do TikTok or any like social media stuff like that, like you'll see clips on those sites or those apps, and then somebody in the comments will like, and especially it'll be like a good scene from that movie, and somebody in the comment will be like, all right, I'll go watch it again. That's usually what happens. I'll see like a scene and I'm like, oh yeah, that movie's badass. I'm like, all right, where's it at? Where's it streaming for free?
Now that does happen where I'll turn on, I have a Vizio TV, and so it has the Vizio app and everything. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you'll see stuff and you'll just like click on it. Or if you go to Netflix or Paramount, and you're like, you know what? Especially if it's something you've seen before and you're like, I don't want to invest myself. I don't want to invest time because I need to walk around, clean or whatever. But if it's something you already know, you can walk in the other room. When you hear something that you like, you can run back out there and watch it.
Right.
So, but yeah, I
100%
think that's how it is.
Yeah, I prefer almost any more to watch something that I know I've watched and enjoy before I watch something new.
That's why I'm watching Justified again. I'm watching Justified again, and I have another channel that I do where we break down certain TV shows. We're going to be doing Dexter starting now. We just did Murderbot, and then before that we did Mobland, and I like stuff like Mobland and pretty much anything Taylor Sheridan does. You can just turn it on and I'll watch it.
So what do you guys do? You watch an episode and then on the show review it?
So he gets screeners.
Mm-hmm.
So we watch it ahead of time. We watch it together through StreamYard, and then we talk about it. So we talk about it for 50 to 60 minutes. Kind of break down everything that's on it. What?
So when it's fresh in your brain, you guys will go live right after.
We don't go live because we're getting them early.
Okay.
Well, Dexter, we can't. He's been aggravated because Dexter has 2 episodes coming out this Friday, but it doesn't go live on Paramount till Sunday, I think. So we were supposed to do it earlier this week, but he hasn't gotten it yet. So yeah, because he's been doing it for quite some time, and he said we found what works because they've done like all the Walking Dead stuff. So they got in really good with who does
Kirkman?
No, the channel.
Oh, AMC.
So like they can get pretty much anything from AMC. So but Paramount was actually pretty good with Reacher. Or no, actually Paramount's not Reacher. Paramount's was good for Mobland. So but for this, they haven't given them to him yet. So I think we'll have them like tomorrow. I'm like, well, we can just do it tomorrow and then Saturday. It takes time. It takes way more time. And then we bullshit a lot too, like before we even start recording.
Right.
So
next thing you know, you're like 2 hours in. You haven't even done what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. But the goal is to get the stuff early so we can watch it. And even if it's like a month ahead of time, they're just loaded and they go live. They go live when they say the embargo is over. So that's what we've been doing with that. So that's where I see a lot of the newer stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like I see something old that just kind of, and then he brought up to me like because I told him about Fubar. I don't know if you watch Fubar with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No.
So Arnold Schwarzenegger did a TV show on Netflix, Fubar, and it's really good. And then he's like, yeah, I watched season 1 and season 2. I was like, season 2's out. He's like, yeah. And that's when I realized I haven't watched Netflix in quite some time.
Right. It's like I didn't realize Cobra Kai was over with. I'm like, I thought they were still going.
That's another thing. Yeah, like I watched that like the first day of the day that it came out. I think I watched most of it. But you're right. Like, and I know Matthew Matson talks about it. That's one of the things I hate about. I love when everything drops on one day, especially in the winter. It's good for me, but I don't think it's good for the TV shows. I think it's bad because you forget about it.
Right. Because and then you need to watch like a recap video before you start the next season because it's been over a year.
Forget. Like if you watch all the Cobra Kai in one day, and then the next season comes out in a year and a half, you're like, oh, I totally forgot about that. I've watched this or that. Yep. So, just kidding. Who I don't think I've ever seen here says, I thought Talib is from Malaysia due to his name.
Nope.
It is weird. Like it is a weird, like when you see the name, it kind of does seem like it might be an Arabic name. Yeah. That's what I always wondered. And then when I saw you, I was like, that dude's white.
Yep. Just tricking everybody.
All right. So as you go through high school, like you said, you got in a rap, you were collecting CDs. Did you consider yourself a CD collector? Or were you just picking them up?
Back then, yeah, because you know what I love to do when my friends would have parties? I was the guy that had all the music to get everybody to party with.
Okay.
I was like the little DJ, and that kind of turned into a side gig.
So you realized it.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
Because I would go to I think it was called CD Connection, and I would get singles because sometimes certain songs weren't on albums,
Yep.
and you had to get the singles, and that was the only place you could get them was at the time because that was I
On the
think that was before
B-side.
Best Buy, or the B-side stuff. Yep.
Which is no B-side on a CD.
No, it's just another $5 or $6 you got to drop to get that other disc.
Well, do you remember the movies that had the widescreen on one side and then you flipped it over?
Yep.
And you couldn't really tell that you didn't know what the difference was because
No,
it didn't make any sense to you.
yeah, because most TVs didn't even have widescreen format unless you.
Yeah, you were like, you just cut off the top and the bottom of it a little bit. Why did I want to watch that?
Yep.
But if you weren't like a movie guy, you're not paying attention and going, "Oh, okay, that."
Yeah, unless you're one of those cinephiles that are like, laser disc only. What is this blasphemy?
I wonder if Matson's like that. He's not in, which is really odd that my moderator's not in. He always likes to come in and be right about things.
Is that good for a moderator or want to be right about things?
I don't know. Ed, is it? It's become a good running joke, and Matthew's pretty understanding about the jokes. Mm-hmm. The truth is, he normally is right about most of this stuff. I think that's what aggravates people the most about him, is that he's normally right about most of the stuff. And yeah, Ed's even saying, "Yeah, I was wondering where Matthew is." He's probably arguing with someone online somewhere about how he has to be right.
Right. Correct.
So, did you graduate high school?
Yep.
I have to ask because I once said, "Oh, you graduate high school," and they go, "I didn't graduate." And I was like,
"Tell you what, senior year though, I was ready. I was checked out."
Yeah, you and me both. And I don't know. I would assume by the time you were graduating, they probably made more classes mandatory. I know, like, for my senior year was the first year they made government mandatory. Everyone before that, their senior year, as long as you had all your credits, you could just take all blow-off classes. So I had all blow-off classes. So I've been listening, playing with my new Savage Crucibles, and watching Buffy.
I remember if you planned good enough your first 3 years and got enough credits, your senior year, you could like only go like half a day or part of the day. You could get out early.
We had 4 hours.
Scheduled a study hall at the end of the day or something like that, or at the beginning of the day you could come in late.
So we had 6 hours, and if you got all your credits, you only had to have 4 credits your senior year. What made me really mad was the millage didn't pass, so people only had 5 hours anyway. So I felt ripped off that like all the seniors before me missed 2 classes, and I only got to miss 1 class.
Right.
And I can tell you, doing that and really having all blow-offs my senior year really set me up for not going to school. Not being prepared for college, which I didn't really make it through.
Right.
So, as you graduate, did you go on to school or did you go right into the workforce?
I was right in the workforce. I was already in the workforce when I was a senior. I got a job at a local butcher shop.
Okay.
And I was just doing entry-level stuff to begin with, but then once I got out of high school, they put me full-time, and then I was doing more, and this was a full kill floor butcher shop.
Ooh.
So we would do hog kill on Tuesday and cattle kill on Thursdays. And that was hog kill was all day thing. You start at like 5 a.m. and almost go all the way. It was almost 10-hour day. Beef kill was a little bit different. You usually got on around noon or 1 o'clock, depending on how many came in. And it was a full service deli afterwards. So we did. I took over like the smoke area, so I was making like all your cold cuts, stuff like that.
Damn.
Did that for about a year, and it was all German Baptist owned. So it's like, it was real kind of backward in there. Like, they're real religious. Can't listen to the radio. Can't do anything really fun like that. No TV, no radio. So
I often look back at stuff and I go, how do we do these jobs before we had earbuds and we could just listen to music or
Yeah.
YouTube all day long?
But at the same time, you wouldn't want to do that there. Now, if you was in like the cutting room, it would be all right. But you're on the kill floor, there's stuff flying.
Okay.
So
Well, I don't ever listen to like when I'm working, I always only have one in.
that's usually how I am.
Yeah, even when I like skateboard, like I see these guys skateboarding and they have like music in on both. I mean I have to hear my board hits. I need to hear everything that's going on around me. So one works perfectly fine. But I also don't know what that would be like because you're right. I don't think I'd want to. You don't want something coming in this way because you got an earbud in. So were you doing that in high school or did you do that?
Well, so I worked there when I was in high school, but I was just doing I would just wash dishes pretty much.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until I got out of high school and graduated, then I was full time, and they put me at doing other positions in there. It was fun to like reflect back that it was fun, but at the same time, like it was work.
That's what I try to tell my son. Like, I hated working at Ponderosa. That was my first job. But I look back at it, I'm like, it was so much fun. I made so many good friends. Yep. And when you're able to look back and be like, I guess it really didn't matter if I cooked that steak right or if we were behind because it wasn't my career.
Was like, Tuesday, like I said, was the hog kill day, and we would make pork cracklings the same day. So usually if I was done on the kill floor, they would bring me into the pork cracklings room or whatever. There's these 3 pots that are, I don't know, maybe 40 inches in diameter. And there was 3 or 4 of them in there. And the room is small. And you're just deep frying. You're making pork rinds, basically. And they're so good fresh out of the pot. But it was so hot in there, the floor would get slippery because the grease would just get on the floor. But they were so good fresh. Everything was good fresh out of there. Like, I almost ate like a king during lunch because you can just go in the deli, grab some deli meat or some smoked sausage or whatever, and go take it to the break area.
Let me ask you this, and I'm no vegetarian or anything. Is it hard to go from a kill floor? You sound like Dexter.
No.
To just regular, like you just slaughtered a bunch of pigs.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I love bacon. So, and I don't think I have the ability to do it, but I have no problem eating the bacon. All
right. I will say it was very intimidating at first. The cows more than the hogs, because the hogs they only go up to your maybe thigh or your knee. They're real small. Cows, I mean, you're looking at them eye to eye, and you have to get above them on a platform to be able to knock them out in order to raise them up. And
yeah, we got it.
Yeah.
Make the steak. Get the steak out of them.
But no, it never affected me. Like,
I've never talked to somebody, so I thought, like, hey,
I'm a chubby kid. I need food. When I get hungry, give it to me. Yeah, I don't care. It's not like a dog or a pet that you could have you're closer to.
Well, I will. My ex's cousin does have a pig as a pet.
Yeah,
so
some people do that.
And it was
cows, as miniature cows.
Yeah, it was in a plane crash with her. So, yeah, she actually crashed her plane. She was flying from Boston back here, and her plane went down with the pig in it. Pretty much, like she was in a body cast. This is like
she survived.
Oh yeah.
Did the pig survive?
The pig survived. Smashed its face into the controls when it went, because she went down. She was flying from Boston, the Boston area to Michigan, and she went down somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And I was talking to her sister, and because I had only heard stuff from from my ex, and she was kind of telling me everything that happened. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking to her sister, and she's like, we were waiting and we're watching the plane, like we're watching the radar, and then the plane just went away. Like it was just off the radar. And she's like, yeah, my mom was like, oh, I wonder if her plane crashed. And she's like, Mom, why would you even say that? not even thinking about it.
Right.
And sure enough, that plane went down. Obviously didn't crash like the Kennedys or anything, but
Right.
um,
Did she ever fly again after that?
I don't know, but I'm willing to bet she did or has. But I know she was stuck here because she lived out there. And I forget one of her neighbors were like taking care of the pig till she got back. But she was like not a full body cast, but I think like both her arms were broken and her legs. So I mean, it obviously took quite some time to heal. But
Right.
she's back to Boston, and they have there's like 7 of them. They'll have a very weird relationship. So
right.
So how long did you do that for? Or are you still doing that?
It lasted about a year, and then a new guy started there and pleaded me and a buddy of mine's mind that we could get a better job somewhere else, because he knew he had like a brother-in-law that worked at this place that was like over an hour away, and it didn't work out very well either. after we quit the butcher shop or whatever, and then went to that factory to work, no, that it was not. My one friend wussed out, so I was driving back. Both of them, the guy that got us the job there and my one friend, because we talked about moving, because it was Northern Kentucky. That's about a little over an hour drive from me.
Okay.
And we was talking about getting an apartment down there. And then my one friend couldn't handle the drive and then pussed out on me. And then so I ended up probably working there for another few months before I got into like General Motors around here, and worked there and got laid off like within a year.
Oh yeah,
that was the crisis. That was like 2001 when what was it, the World Trade Center and all that stuff, and then the housing crisis and all that stuff.
Yeah, you were going in at a bad time, because I
was like 2021 at that point.
Yeah, I remember the job the job I work at now. It was after 9/11, and I remember at the same time that I was called to, they offered me this job, I also had a temp agency wanted me to work at Chrysler, and I regretted not going to Chrysler for a short bit until I saw basically everyone getting laid off. And here I've been 24 years, so I think I made the right decision.
Yeah.
So as you leave high school and you go into all this, are you collecting anything? Are you
still video games, still movies, still CDs?
Okay.
It's all entertainment stuff for the most part.
And I mean, have you met anyone that are you dating anyone? I mean, you have a kid now, or you have at least one kid. I don't know if you have multiple kids or not.
Yeah, I met a girl. It was just right out of high school, and she was still in high school. She was like a year younger than me. So we dated for maybe a year or so. Well, it didn't last very long.
Because you would have only been graduated for a few years before 9/11, correct?
Yeah, because I graduated in 98. So, I mean, it was still 4 years, but
that's still pretty fresh. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it still seems fresh now, believe it or not. Like it's crazy.
Yep.
It's like crazy to think about. So as you're collecting your CDs and your movies and stuff like that, are toys even coming into play at all? Like,
I remember I would still go down the toy aisle and like look at stuff. And I remember I still have them in the garage. I can't remember who made it, but they were like die-cast cars that were models at the same time, but they were like snap type models. So I kind of dipped in some of those a little bit.
Were they model kits that were die-cast metal?
Yeah, they the bodies were die-cast, but all the interior stuff was plastic.
Oh wow, I can't even think of that.
And that was right around the time when you had the STR Dodge Viper, the blue with the white race stripes, and I had one of those, and I was like, that car was sex on wheels.
That is still any Viper is still my favorite car. Just when Chrysler came out with that, you're like, wow. I remember I remember I had my car in. I was at a Dodge dealership, and I was talking to the dealer, and I go, man, and this was before the Charger, and I'm like, you guys need to get something to compete with like the Mustang and the Camaro. And he goes, we have this, and he points to the Viper. I'm like, dude, that is not competing like those.
Yeah. Almost $100,000 car. It's not competing.
Yeah, no, that's competing with the Vet. That's how that's competing with the Ferrari and Lamborghinis.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Mayesto did some of those diecast models. I remember that company, but I don't remember them being modeled. Might have
been that company.
But that sounds about right because they do all the diecast and stuff. Because I have like a Viper diecast. I think that's some Mayesto.
I think I had a Prowler. I had the RT10 Viper, the red one with the convertible top. I think I had like I don't know why I would have got it, but it was like a F350 Ford pickup. It's because I was just grabbing them. It's that collector's brain. Oh, I got this car here. They're making this one. Got to grab that one too.
So when do you think you realize that you have that collector's brain?
Oh, probably not like till like in my 40s or late 30s. Okay. When I started, going full in on other stuff.
So you didn't you didn't realize that you were a collector, even though you're collecting all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like I said, like the skateboards, I don't get rid of stuff. And when I do, I get
all the orders.
But I'm not like I don't feel like you want. But I don't have a problem getting rid of like old newspapers and stuff.
Right.
Although I guess
jars with fingernail and toenail clippings in it, weird shit like that.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't have any of that. So you're picking up stuff like that. With your video games, when you meet girls, like, is it hard to like? Do they even think twice about it, or?
No, I mean the first girl didn't bother her. It wasn't until I met the other girl that I was with. I forget how many years I was with her, but I'd rather. She's like, you'd rather play video games than be with me. Well, yeah, probably. And that was like at the height of like Final Fantasy 11, and I was playing that game all the time and not playing with her. So, but that was like a 5-year relationship, or maybe more than that. But it was a long.
You truly thing. Are a man. You're like, maybe. Yeah, you start to forget after a while, but yeah. So how many kids do you have? Do you mind me asking?
I have 2. I have a daughter and a son.
And what are their ages?
She's 14, going on like 25.
Mm-hmm.
And then my son's 9.
Again, if you watch my show, you know how mine is. When she's here, she just comes in. Half the time you don't even see her because she comes in and she grabs whatever I'm drinking and just drinks out of it because she doesn't care.
Yep.
So when you meet their mother, their mothers, I don't know if it's from the same mom.
Yeah, it's same mom.
So how does she accept what you're doing? And like,
all right. So the funny thing is, when we were together, I really wasn't collecting toys at the time.
Okay.
I did have some Marvel Legends. Like the MCU, I kind of got into some Marvel Legends around. This was peak MCU. This is Winter Soldier time. I want to go back to Final Fantasy 11. It's still going, but anyway, so I was on. So I started on Titan, and then Titan they got rid of it and put me on Phoenix.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on. That is the pot calling the kettle black.
Just what kind of nerd are you?
That's exactly
what's the flavor.
When I make jokes and stuff, and people are like, you collect toys. I'm like, yeah, you see the irony here, right? Like you get you understand when I call you a nerd and you're like, look at all the toys you collect. And it's like, yeah, I'm glad you got it. That irony went right over your head.
But yeah, at the time, like I really wasn't collecting toys when I met the birther of my children. It wasn't until like we were together for a while, things started to accumulate. I don't know if that led to the separation, but that was something that I wasn't paying attention to her in her eyes. But at the same time, she wasn't taking care of some things for me. So
it's funny how that goes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not saying I understand completely, but I understand completely.
You work 60 plus hours a week, you come home and it looked worse than when you left it. You kind of become an asshole sometimes. Not like mean. I just was checked out.
My ex, she used to she'd get aggravated with me, and I'd be like, you act like I leave in the morning and I go to the gym and then I go skateboard with my friends. I go to work all day, and I'm not saying like being home with the kids isn't work, or you're working from home, but at the same time I am too.
Right.
Like I'm gone all day and to pay the bills. I'm not hanging out, with buddies and everything. And then I come home and I'm like, did you pay the bills? Like, like,
yeah.
But not everyone gets that for some odd reason. It seems like it's more the females that don't get that.
Yep. So yeah,
no, go on.
I was just gonna say, so yeah, that didn't work out. So that's why I'm living on my own again. Which at this point, I'd just rather be that.
10 plus years for me. 10 plus years
since 2019 for me.
So, before the pandemic. So
yeah, mine happened. Oh god, that's a long story. I don't even want to get in that. It's not that I don't want to talk about it. It's just the drama. I'll tell you what. Oh, so great. She's not in my life, other than I got to deal with her because of the kids.
See, I actually get along with my ex like really good now,
and we get along, but it's because I just let it.
Dude, I go over her families for holidays and everything. I mean, I can just walk in her house. I have a pastor, the code to her house. She has a code to mine, and everyone's like, "Oh, you two are gonna get back together." I'm like, "No, we get along because there's none of that."
Right.
Like, it's been over 10 years. We've never like had that one night. Like, no, there's none of that. Like, we're friends now. And it didn't start off like that, It didn't start off like that. It takes time to get to that point. And I've talked to a lot of people that have gone through split ups, and they're like, so you're saying like there's a chance? I'm like, there always is. I mean, but it has to work on both ends. Like, both people have to be understanding about it.
The things that cause the separation need to be repaired or fixed on both ends before that happens.
Tripwire, I don't think like Superman. Save your money. Don't spend it on Superman. Go watch interviews with dumb director and brother he got a role for. Shake my head. I have a feeling it is going to be one of the most just divided movie. There are going to be people that are going to want to love it. There are going to be people that want to hate it. And then there'll be some that actually judge it for what it actually is.
Kind of the theme with superhero movies anymore.
It's definitely the theme with DC stuff, I'd say. Marvel is getting there for sure, if it's not already there.
Yeah.
But I
can watch bad movies. I found some enjoyment in the Green Lantern movie.
I did too. I don't think it's as bad as it's fun.
Yeah.
And Sinestro was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Aquaman was awful, but my daughter and I had a blast watching it, making jokes about it. She made a whole Father's Day or birthday card about it. I think it's Father's Day card about how bad it was and how I wouldn't treat people kidnap her. And when Aquaman 2 came out, I'm like, are we going to go see it? And she was like, oh, yeah, we're going to see it. So as a collector, I always say collectors shouldn't have kids, because then we think when we're getting them toys that they need all of them. Do you find that?
Yeah, you should see my son's Transformer collection.
Ooh, of all things to get him into.
No.
And if you don't know, if you're tuning in right now and you don't know what we're talking about, just go back to the beginning where we talked about Transformers and how much Transformers there are.
Yeah. So yeah, and like I said earlier, he's kind of into Fortnite now. So I don't know. He still believes in Santa Claus. He doesn't know his dad's a Santa Claus. So I don't know how deep he'll keep stay into toys, because how we like to put our dolls and toys on shelves and have everything nice posed. You walk into his room, that's how a lot of his toys are right now.
Oh, okay.
He does play with them, but he has stuff displayed.
So
I don't want this to look weird. I have this brush because this is what I use to dust, not put makeup on my face.
Hey,
makeup brushes are really good for dusting.
I don't judge anyone. Whatever you want to do, it doesn't bother me. When you're this ugly, then, well, I don't know. According to Ed, he said that he was showing a friend of his the pictures from Joe Fest, and she pointed to me and said, "Who's the pretty one?" I've never been referred to as pretty. That was until she found out I was 5'4" and said, "Yeah, I'm not into short guys."
So judgmental, them ladies are, aren't they?
It's funny because I was just talking to a girl that I've been talking to for years, like a friend of mine, and she kind of disagrees, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, and women can just say it out loud, right? If I say, hey, I'm not going to date a girl that's a little chunky, we are awful people.
Yep.
But if they say, hey, I'm not dating, and you see it on dating profiles all the time. The best is when they say, like, if you're not at least 5'11", don't even message me. And you're like, dude, you're 5'1".
Right.
It's not like you're like 5'10". Like, I fully understand that.
I have not stepped into that wasteland, and I probably never will. Cannot imagine.
Yeah, being almost 50 and being single, and I don't want to date. I think, like, that's my biggest. I just want to meet someone and just, like, she understands how I am. I understand how they are. Like, that's what I want. I just want that old relationship that you've been together for, 10 years, but you don't get to do that. And I don't mind, like, I've said to people, I don't mind spending money on a date. The worst part is going out on a date and you're going to spend $50 or $60 on dinner, and in 10 minutes you realize you never want to talk to this person again.
Right.
Crusty old crow jumping in here. Yep, and Casual Toy Collector says the dating pool is shit now. Yes, it is. So when it comes to collecting, like, for your kids, like, what about for your daughter? Do you find yourself?
No, like I said, she's 14. So the only thing she cares about now is clothes, makeup, nails, silly crap like that. Like, and now, so she has like her first serious boyfriend, and she's like modeling her style after him now. So he's like he lives on a farm, and he's kind of into like cowboy shit. And now she's like, hey, Dad, can you buy me these Eric boots for my school shoes this year? And I'm like, no, because they're super expensive. And wait till you break up with this kid. You're not even going to want to wear them anymore.
My daughter had one serious boyfriend, and he cheated on her. And now she's like, kind of like, she doesn't want to have anything to do with boys. She's 16 years old.
Yeah.
I know she's boy crazy. I know she is. But she doesn't really like, which I'm fine with, which I'm like, you know what? I should probably go shake that kid's hand and be like, thank you.
Yep.
But she doesn't like dealing with that. But like when it comes to like she loves Lilo and Stitch. So every time there's like new Stitch Funko Pops, I order them.
Right.
And then I find myself for Christmas, I go ahead and I buy them at Sergeant Red's or wherever I find them. And then I'm going through my closet going, fuck, I already bought these like 6 months ago.
Right.
Gonna try and do a better job this year.
That's kind of how I went with my son. I'm getting like Transformers from Amazon, folding the boxes up or whatever, throwing them in the closet. I'm like, I probably should write this down to know what's in there. So when I start to dig them out, I don't forget anything.
This is what I used to do for for my kids when they were younger. I would start buying Christmas stuff in June.
Yeah.
Because they're little. They don't really care. So and then I'd find myself like, wow, I pretty much have everything for Christmas. And my ex would be like, you bought that much stuff? I'm like, yeah, I started like in June. I bought this toy here and that toy here. And, this was on sale. They don't, again, they don't care at that point. Yeah. Now they get to that point and they're like, yeah.
Yeah. So the one thing my son is into right now is, I talk about this a lot, but they're called blockies.
Okay, I've heard of those.
And they're like these little action figure type build-a-sets of Transformers.
Okay, that's what they are.
He's kind of getting into these now.
So he's building them though.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like Minecraft, where you actually build, except you're using your hands.
Yeah.
So, but with his Transformers, he doesn't really play with them.
He does from time to time, but now that I've put his PS5 and a TV in his room, like he was pretty ecstatic seeing that recently, and he's been playing more Fortnite in his room when he's allowed to. Like he's not like I give him. He has limitations on it. Like he can't just sit in there all day and do it. But
yeah,
I mean, he had to clean his room today. There was toys everywhere, so he obviously does something with them because they're in different spots.
I can't go in my daughter's room. It's so bad. My
daughter is the worst. Is your daughter artsy by any chance?
No, not really.
Okay.
She has art ability, but she doesn't. She's not interested in it, so she doesn't do anything like that.
Because I wondered, because my daughter was kind of artsy. She doesn't like really pursue it as much now, but I just thought maybe that was part of the personality trait of anybody that was kind of artistic. Maybe their mind is like almost like when you're doing the art, you're hyper focused on it, but everywhere else is a mess.
No, she's hyper focused on not doing anything. I'll be like, did you clean your room? No, but I thought about it. I'm like, no, you didn't. No, I did. I thought about it, and then I decided not to.
Battles I've had with my daughter trying to get her to clean her room or keep
I called her and I said, I go, do you know when your mom's picking you up? She goes, no. I go, have you cleaned your room yet? She goes, no, but I'm going to. I go, listen, do you know how long it takes to clean your room? And her answer was, no, because I never do it. And I went, just clean your room. So then I call her mom up and I'm like, all right, I got to tell you this, Susan. I call your daughter up. I'm like, you clean your room? No. And I ask her, I go, do you know how long it takes to clean it? And her answer was, no, because I never do it. I'm like, you little shit. Like, I can't be mad at you because you didn't lie. You flat out told me, no, I don't do it. Like, yeah, Ed, you're right. Like, and the thing is, the majority of you people watching have seen Olivia in here, so you can hear her voice when she says it. Like you can hear the attitude that she would have when she says it too. But no, yeah, she's not. Olivia comes in and she is about finding food to eat, and I mean, they'll stop over here. Like her and her mom will stop over here because she needs to grab something.
Yeah.
And I'll come downstairs and she's already in the refrigerator. She's grabbing like cold pizza or something. And I go, I thought you and your mom just went to lunch. We did. Well, wait, why are you eating?
Yeah. Did you not eat lunch?
Oh, no, I ate. Like, oh my like that's the first thing she does. Just comes, right into it.
I've noticed my son's kind of been getting that way now. Like before, he was kind of. I mean, he's still a picky eater, but he would usually eat, get his fill, and then he'd be good for a while. Now he's like, it's like, was that lunch or dinner? I'm like, dude, you slept till 1. That was pretty much dinner at this point.
Is he tall?
Yeah, he's pretty tall for his age.
Are you tall?
Yeah, I'm around 6'1",
okay,
6'2". So yeah.
Yeah, they hit their growth spurt, from what I hear. My son, he's taller than me and my ex, but not by much. I think he's like 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah.
So he's, again, a giant to us. But I watched like these kids, and they can't stop eating because they're just growing, and they're growing, and they're growing, And but my daughter, she just loves. She just comes in, and first thing she does is go right there looking for food. Like, you're crazy. Like, yep. And then she'll be like, "Stop calling me fatty." I'm like, no one said you're fat. I just said you like to eat. Like, you go looking for food. You are clearly not fat at all. Do you just want to eat?
Hi, Dad. How are you doing? It's good to see you. No, where's the food? Kind of one of those scenarios.
Well, a lot of time I'll be up here, or if I'm in the bathroom, or I'm in the basement, like doing laundry. I mean, I'll get up there, and she's already in the refrigerator.
Gotcha.
And I'm looking at my ex, and she's just shaking her head, going, "Yeah, we just came from dinner." All right, so let's get into what you're collecting. So when did you get back into like actually collecting toys?
It was probably around 2015, 2016, maybe.
So it's been a while. It wasn't the pandemic craze like a lot of people.
Right. I think we went to a toy store. Like I think I might have started finding Facebook toy groups around that point, and finding sellers on Facebook. And we went to the Columbus Zoo one day, and I was like, "Hey, there's a toy store in town." And we stopped at this toy store, and I found a barbecue, G.I. Joe barbecue, 3 3/4 vintage, and bought that. And then a few weeks later, I was digging in the garage, and I found some of my old Joes. And one of them, I didn't know at the time, was the vintage Ninja Viper with both of his swords, mint condition.
Okay.
And that's a super expensive Joe, and I didn't realize it. And I took a picture because I was playing. I played Destiny on PlayStation.
I know that because my son plays it.
And I shared it with a bunch of friends that I was in a group with, or a clan, or whatever they're called on there. And the guy was like, "Dude, that one's really freaking expensive. You lucky you found that," or whatever. I'm like, "Oh, cool." So that kind of like started snowballing, and then I started picking up vintage Joes. And like I said, I found Facebook groups, and where I got this T-shirt, there's I don't know, you might have heard of him. His name's Rob Ross. He sells G.I. Joes and a bunch of toys on Facebook.
No, I don't.
And I've bought a lot of stuff off of them. But I was getting heavy into vintage Joes at that point. And whatever Hasbro was releasing those years in Transformers, I started collecting all the Transformers.
And so, like, did that lead to other things?
Yeah. So right around whenever Classified got announced, I was like, kind of piqued my interest. And I think I still had my vintage stuff at the time.
When it got announced, or after it already hit?
I think after it already hit. Oh, I remember when it was announced, because I remember pre-ordering that 00 Snake Eyes immediately.
Okay. Because I didn't get into it right away. Like, I didn't get into it until I saw the 6-inch figures, like Duke and everything.
Right.
So, I mean, I was in it right at the beginning, but I was collecting picking up vintage figures and the Walmart figures, like
the retro or whatever they were called. Yeah, I started grabbing all those as well, all those retro figures. And then And then I think I had some of the modern stuff, but not a lot. But then at the same time, I was getting all the Transformers, like I said, and then Classified came around, and at that point, I started picking up Classified. I'm like, I don't want 40-year-old plastic on my shelf, so I sold all my vintage stuff. I went to Rob's shop. Actually, he's got a shop in Missouri or whatever, and a lot of it. I traded in for stuff and bought other stuff, and then I got cash at the same time. But I had a pretty decent amount of vintage stuff, and sold it all.
Even your childhood stuff?
Yeah, even my childhood stuff.
That didn't. Wow.
Didn't want 40-year-old plastic. I was afraid it would break, and then that's all she wrote.
See, I've said before, like, if I didn't have so much of my original stuff, and especially like the Terradrome, the flag, like, I probably would have started getting rid of it. Like, if it wasn't all, like, if there wasn't such big items that were mine from my childhood, like if that was something that I bought later on in life, I probably would have gotten rid of it. But starting to do these classic reviews, I've totally fell in love with it again. Like,
Yeah,
I really do enjoy the O-rings, 4-inch figures. They don't compare to the 6-inch figures, other than my childhood,
right.
those deals. But the newer figures are just the 6-inch figures are with our bad eyes and our arthritis finger.
Right. And the other thing, it might have been a little bit too, was, so did you ever do any like go on like Facebook Marketplace and find people selling lots and stuff like that to add to your collection?
No, I mean, I've gotten lots, but not through Facebook Marketplace. And Tripwire's asking if those are figures on your shelf in the back.
Yeah, those are that way. Yeah, those are most of those are all Masterpiece Transformer stuff.
Yep.
So there's some G1 stuff on there, but that shelf's all Transformers. That's not all my collection. That's like a third. I have a whole house. Not every room has stuff in it, but
my kids' rooms don't have my stuff in it.
No, my kids' rooms don't have my stuff in it, but they have their stuff. There's nothing in the bathroom. The living room is full of toys.
I have nothing in the bathroom. Living room is completely full. Kitchen has some. This room does. The basement does on both sides. Laundry room doesn't.
Yeah, laundry room doesn't. In my kitchen, there's figures laying on my bed, my table in the kitchen. That was only because I haven't had a spot to put them yet.
I'm actively trying to make new room.
Yeah. Well, I have this space over here, so I'm going to put another bookshelf there because I have to move stuff out of my, I forget what it's called, packs. So IKEA made a shelf that was called a packs, and it was used for a wardrobe. So it's deep, and you can fit classified vehicles in there fairly nice. But it's loaded full of figures right now, so I want to get another bookshelf, put my figures on it, do like little themed shelves, so that way I can fit the Rattler in it when it's supposed to come tomorrow.
Oh, must be nice.
Well, that's what FedEx says, but it hasn't been updated. So
yeah, I have no update on shipping for mine yet. But I did get the shipping notice that the firefighter shipped from Pulse. But that's going out through DHL. So there's still a good chance that I'll get the Rattler first, even though it hasn't even shipped yet. Because I promise you that it will get stuck in Stowe, Ohio for at least 3 days.
Yeah.
You probably have the same thing. Yours probably goes to Stowe, Ohio too, doesn't it?
You know what's weird? When they were using FedEx for a while, anybody that used FedEx, I live in like the kind of the middle of Ohio, like it's southwest Ohio. Oh, am I freezing? Oh,
for a second.
So I live in southwest Ohio, and is what FedEx would go to Columbus, then would go down to northern Kentucky, and then it might go over somewhere else, and then it finally goes to where I'm at. FedEx was so bad for the longest time.
When
DHL just takes forever.
Well, it goes to Stowe, Ohio. Yours probably goes to Stowe,
northern?
Ohio. What?
Is that northern Ohio? I don't even know where that's at.
Stowe, Ohio is on the way to Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay, so
it goes down to it comes out of Chicago, it goes right past Michigan, all the way to Stowe, Ohio, sits there for about 3 days, then gets transferred to the mail, and then they bring it. Where when they were using FedEx, if it shipped out today, like let's say it went out at 12, I'd have it tomorrow.
Oh, wow. So yeah, FedEx worked a lot better for you. Yeah. FedEx was bad.
And like BBTS, if the box is too small, they ship it out DHL too now.
Right.
If the box is bigger, or you ask for the FedEx, they'll ship it out FedEx, and it costs you about $4 more, and then you don't have to worry about it staying in the Stowe, Ohio resort.
So when it comes to BBTS orders for you, are you patient and let them build up, or do you ship?
It depends on what it is. Just because of how, I do like to get stuff as early as possible for doing reviews.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's something that's already been around for a while, I don't, I'll just, I let it build up, but I ship it right away.
Because I got that Blanca and Sagat right away, and I'm like, I can wait.
And so that's a little different. Now I actually found those at Target.
Oh, lucky you! That's real. They really were at Target.
So I found it a couple times, but I felt the same way as you because Tony and Spec and all them had it, and I was like, bullshit. But I still don't believe Blue Guile is real.
Yeah. Have you seen that blue Guile yet? That's what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Blue Guile.
Nope.
Yeah.
I haven't looked all over. I don't think it ever hit Michigan because I've never seen anyone post it. Because I'm in another Facebook group of just for Michigan, and I've never seen anyone post it.
Yeah, I have not found any Street Fighters at my Target.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man, we had so many red Chun-Lis.
Yeah, not even that.
There was so many red Chun-Lis, and then they went back to the blue Chun-Li that they had like crazy.
Right.
I've seen pretty much all of them, but Blue Guile.
Yeah,
I think.
I haven't seen any at Target. I've just now started seeing the ones at Walmart that are the first wave that everybody's already bad for.
Yeah, so they're just gonna sit there no matter what,
FedEx lost one of my HasLabs. That was fun.
Ooh.
Because usually I have my HasLabs shipped to my work because you have to sign for them. I work in the office, so having them shipped to my work's no issue. Watching my tracking. This was for the Transformers Death Stars. Watching my tracking. Oh, delivered. I walk around, look for it. Ask shipping and receiving. No, we don't know anything about it. It doesn't. You know how there's signature required?
Yep.
Didn't ask for a signature. So then I call up FedEx. There's you have to call Hasbro. Call up Hasbro. Hasbro reimbursed my money, but I didn't get a Death Stars.
How does that fucking benefit me? I gave you the money, and I guess it's not on them. It's not their fault. It's
right.
But I'd be fucking furious.
I wasn't happy, but you know what's funny? So Hasbro did giveaways later that year, and the Death Stars was one of them. I fucking won one.
No way.
From Hasbro. Yeah. But at that point, I was selling all my mainline Transformer stuff. So I sold it immediately. You couldn't, I can't make that shit up. That happened.
Wow. No, that's awesome.
They sent me an email, and I was like, I had to email them back. I emailed Hasbro Pulse's service. I'm like, is this real? It's you guys aren't punking me or whatever. This was real. And it's yeah, you need to reply back to them. I'm like, all right, because you had to download, not like an NDA, you had to download a form and sign it and then send it back to them. So I was a little skittish about downloading something. And yeah, one of Death Stars HasLab.
That's cool, but you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, my
I
friends
know.
were messing with me. They was like, that was probably the one that they lost, and they felt bad for you because they knew you lost it, so they sent it to your ass.
I know. So I just had mine sent to the FedEx Center, and I go pick them up at FedEx. So when the Dragonfly came in, I went there and got it, and I look over and I see there's 3 other Dragonflies there, and I don't know anyone else that's a collector in my area, and I know they weren't, John's from Sergeant Red's, because he would have just had them shipped directly to, a shop, and you're kind of like, who is that? Like, you're trying to see like who, like, do I know that name? I'm looking for the name. So I'm like, who else is there? It's like they got to know who I am, but I've never heard. Right. There's no one that's ever been like, very few people, like in my area, have like, say, hey, yeah, I'm right around you somewhere. There's a few people, but no one where that FedEx Center is like, right in my area. But you're like, and everyone was like, I'm like, I'm just trying to see the name, and they're kind of like, yeah, we can't tell you who it is. I'm like, I know, but I'm like, yeah, and everyone's kind of like, the guys I told, they were like, yeah, they can't really let you do that, and like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, dude, I want to go play with my Dragonfly with the guy, like,
right. Well, do you have collectors in your area, like where you live?
Yeah, but I don't know who they are. That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I ran into a guy at work because I go fix copiers. And I I had to go to the back because no one was answering the front. And so I go to the back and I ring the bell, and the guy, he lets me in, and we're talking. He's got to walk me up to the front. And he goes, is your name Lawrence? And I went to a school with like there's almost 3,000 kids, 2,700 kids that graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a skateboarder, so I figured maybe this guy knows me from skateboarding, from school. And he's like, I watch you every Monday night. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I've run into people at like Sergeant Red's and a couple other toy stores, and obviously at conventions, but I didn't expect to walk into a job, and only because I had to go to the back because no one was answering the front.
Right. So were they shocked to see you there, or was it?
Well, he knew I lived in the area, and he knew I fixed copiers, but I don't tell people. I never wear, like, I never say where I work or anything like that.
That's good anyways.
But when he's like, is your name Lawrence? And I was like, I assumed he was gonna say news me from skateboarding or from work or from school or whatever. And sure enough, he's like, I watch you every Monday night. And I'm like, wow.
So did you ask him if he bought a Dragonfly?
No, I didn't. Well, he would have actually been. No, actually, you know what? He lives right over there. If he's watching, let me know. There was 3 of them, so they ordered 3 of them.
Yeah,
because he actually lives right by me. He lives right in the area. Now that I think about it, because we talked about where he lived.
Do you ever run into anybody when you go to Targets or anything like that when you're in the toy aisle? Nope. Anybody's ever recognized you?
No. Actually, the guy I used to run into, Greg, he's the one who gives me a lot of the stuff that I review.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who really, he's the one kind of pushed me, because he was like, because I was like doing some of the, I was doing all the classified stuff, and I was interested on the Valaverse. And at that time, it was like, either people said they're the biggest piece of shit in the world, or they're the greatest figures ever. I'm like, come on, it's got to be somewhere in the middle.
Right.
And he was like, hey, I have the Valaverse if you want to review them. All right. And then he's the one who kind of got me into doing it, because then he just like, hey, I got this stuff. Do you want to review it? Hey, you got this. Do you want to review it? And it's like, yeah, sure. Yeah. So it just kind of kept going down that road of,
so that was before you were reviewing in general, or just to add another thing to your reviews?
I had started. I was reviewing the classified and any GI Joe that I had, because I had the original, so I would just compare it. But that kind of led me into doing more reviews. And then after
what was the initial like start to get you to doing reviews, or just doing YouTube content creation in general?
It was the the Walmart exclusives because I had the originals, so I just compared them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the first of them, and then the classified. When I looked at the classified, I knew nothing about toys. Wasn't really into the industry. I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't see anyone comparing them to the O-ring. And I was like, why don't I just compare them? You go back and watch those old videos; they are awful. They're so bad. Like I walk behind my bar. I'm like 10 feet away. Like there's no way you can see anything.
Right.
They're bad. But I leave them up there because people need to know, like, hey, like we all start somewhere, right?
Try transforming a Masterpiece transformer behind a ring light and stay in frame.
So I did 2 of the G.I. Joe crossovers.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And as I said, I will never transform them back. Because I have no need for them to be in vehicle mode because I already have the vehicle.
Right.
And I don't even remember if I transformed them on screen. But I can only imagine because people don't realize this. Like when you're behind it, do you use a camera or do you use your phone?
My phone.
You're using your phone, right? So there's times that you stop looking in the phone and you start looking over it.
Right.
And then you're like, I hope I'm on frame.
If you have depth perception issues, you are not going to be doing that shit on camera.
I'm looking at, no, and again, I'm talking about putting weapons. I can't imagine transforming.
Yeah.
Because once you look over that phone at it, you've totally lost the perception of looking at the phone to see if you're in frame.
Right. A lot of times,
yet it's this big in front of you.
A lot of times I don't look at the phone because I feel like I can't see it better than in my hands. And that's when it goes out of frame sometimes.
Yeah.
But if if I have my forearms in a good rest position where I have them and my camera tilted properly, then that's usually when I'm not screwing up as much.
So let me ask you this. Do you use a tripod or do you have a boom?
Yeah, I have a ring light with a tripod, and I have that. I sit that like right in front of me.
Get a boom.
Get a boom?
Yeah. Well, is your tripod on the ground or is it on the desk?
On the ground.
Okay, so do you bump into it all?
Typically, no.
Okay. See, I would always bump into mine on my chair. Then I got a boom, which doesn't. I mean, the boom stays up there, but I got to keep readjusting it because it's not big enough for how wide this thing is. But now I can move my hand. I still bump it every now and then, but now I don't have to worry about my chair hitting it. I can move it to where I need it. It's made things a hell of a lot easier. Because I would smash it. If you watch my videos, you see every now and then I hit it and the whole thing kind of shakes and you're like, oh, sorry about that.
Yep. Keeping it in there. Got to keep it real.
Yeah, and again, the way I do mine, I don't want to do edits. I don't want to do edits, but also people aren't watching my videos for that. I mean, I have a lot of people that are like, they're like, oh, this thing could have been 5 minutes. I'm like, well, okay, thank you for telling me how to run my channel. Hold on.
Right.
Oh yeah, you have no videos. Okay, thank you. And I like constructive criticism because
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But when they're silly comments like that, you're like, thanks for pumping the algorithm.
Yeah. Well, I've said that numerous times when I used to call a magazine a clip, and people would get mad. And then I'd have military guys that go, hey, just so you know, that's called a magazine. You can tell when someone's being an asshole about it, and you can tell. But then I went and I watched a couple of videos on what's the difference between a magazine and a clip. And then you go, okay, I understand why people kind of correct you because they are completely two different things.
Right.
But at the same time, if I call it a clip, you know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Right? Like you know what I'm talking about.
You just ran into the actually guy.
Yeah. And that's it's funny how they act about the stuff because you're like, dude, like when people like they get mad that I don't know the actual gun or I'm talking about like that's not how I'm like, all right, I'm reviewing a toy. I'm not reviewing the lore of the toy. I don't understand. And I'm also not reviewing this weapon compared to an actual weapon.
Right.
If I was doing that, then yeah, you should say, hey, you're comparing that M16 to a real life M16. It's not. Here's the reason why. I'm just looking at it like, hey, this gun looks pretty damn cool.
Yep.
You know, it's better than some people that I watch and they're just like, I don't know anything about weapons, but this gun looks cool. I'm like, you could go a little bit deeper than that. Right? Show the detail. Like, that's what I'm trying to show you. And, you know, but everyone's different. You know, everyone's completely different. That's why I tell everyone, I go, if you want to do reviews, you do them. Just, if they're late, they're late. It's no big deal. People want to hear your.
That's kind of how I am. I have a pile of like Joes that I just haven't reviewed yet that I'll eventually get to, just to build a library.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. You want to build that library, get in the algorithm. Another reason why I get things out so quickly is I hate not opening my toys. Yeah. I want to get them out. I want to get them open as quickly as possible. But I've been sitting on, like, you know, I bought this after Joe Fest, and it's just sitting there. Yeah. I don't even know if I'm going to review it, but I probably will. And I have like one more Delta 17, and because I want that library of as many Delta 17 as possible, just like you said. But I also am like, I don't really want to do it. So,
I was kind of curious how you led to your path, because I was like, I collect this stuff. I like talking about it. I might as well document it at the same time.
Yeah, so like, again, I originally just did it because, well, first off with the Walmart stuff, when you were comparing them, when you look at a lot of people don't realize that that Walmart Hiss tank, the Walmart Hiss, I don't want to call it a tank, I might get yelled at.
The black or the blue one?
Either one. The seats, the seats are different because the 4-inch figures, their legs are so much longer. They had to modify the back seat so it sits out a little bit further.
Yeah, a modification they didn't do on the Soundwave Thunder machine, because your 4-inch figures won't fit in it very well. You tried that yet?
No, I don't have that.
Oh, okay.
Because I couldn't find it at fucking Ross for $25 like everyone else.
I found 2 of them. One went to my son though for Christmas.
That's okay. I'm not mad.
He loves it. He wants them all now after last year.
Well, luckily there's only 4 right now.
Yeah.
And you have 1. And you can usually find the Hiss on sale.
Yep. Yeah. I haven't seen the Ostriker in a while. It was clearanced and then that one disappeared.
Yeah, that one. I mean, I think they're done really well. And then everyone said that everyone says that the Soundwave, and then everyone says that the Triple T is awesome.
Yeah, you could tell their progression from the Megatron up to the Soundwave. There was a big change. Like, they figured it out. And then, Triple T is amazing.
Yeah, and again, like, one of the biggest things comes like one's 80 and I think one's 80 and one's 90, and you're just like, do I really want to spend that much money on it? And then I look how much money I spend on other things.
Right.
Like, hey, look, a $325 HasLab, I'll buy it.
I ended up getting the Triple T because I got a gift card for Christmas. So I was like, oh, they're in stock at Best Buy.
Oh, I haven't even checked Best Buy.
Yeah, that's about where I got the Triple T.
And then I decided not to get the Soundwave because I'm like, it's going to show up at my Ross eventually. We just got Rosses here. Well, clearly our Rosses just get what everyone gets left over from other Rosses because we need to find shit. I see people finding G.I. Joes. I'm like, those don't exist.
I went looking one day and I saw, and I was like, oh, all right, I'm getting them. I was surprised. Those are I don't like going to stores to look for toys anymore. I just buy it online. But finding something like that, that's when you kind of, it gives you that itch again.
So I feel, for me, I don't know, maybe you feel the same way. I love finding stuff in the stores.
No, I love it,
and I don't mind stopping at 10 Targets to look for something. What's aggravating is when I stop and I know there's nothing there because nothing's been shipped out. When you walk in and you know you're not going to find anything, but it's so ingrained in you, I'm like you. I know I'd rather just order this off BBTS or Hello Toys, right? Like I'd rather just order it from someone, Amazon, and wait for it to show up. Where if I know that there's a possibility, that classifieds are shipping or the Jadas are like, you're seeing it. Like people are posting pictures. So I still think they're just photoshopping it in.
Right.
Like that last wave of classified, the latest wave, they showed up. And if you
I didn't think they were selling classified at Target anymore.
I've never said that.
I listen.
As people are saying, like, they're done. And I forget who it is. There's someone that's in my chat all the time. And finally I'm like his wording of the class of Target, I'm like, I think he works there. And he was like, yeah. He's like, we're getting ready to do the reset right now.
Right.
And I'm like, he's telling you right there. Yeah, these are like, there's a whole G.I. Joe SKU. It's just not there right now because there hasn't been anything new.
Wasn't those weird, like that last wave, because they all had the same, they were using like their code names instead of different DCPI numbers or something like that?
The DCPIs have been the same for quite some time.
Okay.
What DCPIs weren't the same were all the Cobra Island ones. So anything that was their exclusive have different DCPIs. But all the other ones, they fall under the same. They do the same thing for the Jada Street Fighters too.
All right.
But when you scan the barcode, it comes on which one it is. So the barcode is actually different. So when you type in, if you go to Pop Finder, you don't type in the DCPI anymore. You type in the there's an 8-digit pin that you put in.
Okay.
So you put that one in. That one actually tells them what figure it is.
I didn't even know Pop Finder still worked.
Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. It's like the best way to, like, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't, I usually, what I do to find out, like, if there's nothing showing up, but I know it's happening in California. Like, I know they're showing up in California.
Right.
I'll type in California. Well, I'll type it in. I'll put 100-mile radius, and I do 90210 because that's the only zip code I know in California. And sometimes they'll populate, and you'll be like, okay, they're actually Pop Finder's working.
Okay.
We just don't have them here in Michigan. That's like the easiest way. I'll never forget that zip code.
Right. That's funny.
So, all right. So what are you mostly collecting now?
So classified is mainly the action figures. I've been dipping into Marvel Legends a little bit, mainly just X-Men stuff. Huh?
The Marvel Legends stuff has been really good this year.
I mean, especially if you like, so I like video game stuff. So all this freaking Marvel versus Capcom stuff, sucker for it. So I've been dipping into it more than I'd like. But what else did I like? And then the X-Force stuff. I'm like, I really like that comic. That comic line was that Rick Remender X-Force.
And it looks really good, right?
Yeah, that gray and that black. And then the other thing I collect is masterpiece scale Transformers. So that could be official masterpiece or third-party stuff.
Now, what size is that?
They can be anywhere from 10 inches or taller or shorter, depending on.
But they're in scale with each other, right?
Yeah, typically they are. They might be off a little bit. They're not 100%, but
yeah,
they're like, close enough where I can have them all on a shelf together.
So how tall would an Optimus Prime be?
Like 10 inches.
So he'd be like 10 inches. So Bumblebee would probably be what, like
almost half, maybe a
little bit. Is he that much shorter? A half?
Yeah.
I was gonna say like 7, but
he comes up about maybe around his knee, a little bit higher.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense when you look at a Bug compared to a Peterbilt.
Right. and then the movies, the live action movies, their scale was a little bit different. He was a little bit taller than the
Transformer stuff is just.
Well, it's funny. They have this like Sunbow scale chart that everybody tries to swear upon, but it doesn't look right sometimes either. And even in the cartoon, sometimes they were bigger, sometimes they were smaller. So that whole Sunbow scale chart's kind of like, can it be right? Is it right?
So let me ask you this, okay? As a G.I. Joe collector, you know how mad people get with the 5L language on the file cards, right?
No, I didn't know they got mad about it. You're talking about like the little symbols that are on the side?
No. Like on the retro cards, they have the file card, but then they have it in 5 languages, and they only have a little blurb. You've never seen people get like pissed off about that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, because
I can understand that they would though.
Okay, so I was going to ask about the Transformers because I've looked at the back of the box of the retro Transformers.
It's like a sentence.
Yeah, and it's like it's 5 different languages.
Yeah,
and I never thought about it as a kid, but those were their file cards. That's how powerful they were, but when you look at it, and I've mentioned it numerous times on my reviews, I'm like, when people get mad about this is a Hasbro thing. It's not a G.I. Joe thing because the Transformers look just as stupid.
Wasn't the Marvel Legends the same way? Marvel Legends is the same way.
Yeah, but they don't have a file. Like, people remember the file card.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So when they're thinking about the file card, they're aggravated. And I understand because you have a file card. Yeah, but the Transformers are the same way with the power on the back.
Right.
They're in 5 different languages.
At least with the retro stuff, you're getting the full file card. A lot of the Transformers don't even do that file card where you would put that red thing over it to see the line. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's in 5 languages. Yeah. But like the file cards. Oh, I got one right. Yeah. So like when you look at it.
Yeah, it looks like the file. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I was just wondering if the Transformer people are as mad. I would assume they would be.
Not that I know of, but I don't get as much Hasbro stuff anymore. The only Hasbro stuff I buy really is for my son.
Because you want the expensive stuff.
Right. Yeah. I have expensive taste.
Aren't you glad that Mezco isn't making Transformer stuff?
I don't know. I'm happy. Yeah. It's like I always stubbed my nose up to the people that bought non-transforming Transformers, and then now I've been buying these blockies and they're non-transforming Transformers. So now I'm a hypocrite.
I remember as a kid when they came out with was it the Headmasters where they didn't transform?
It was the Action Masters.
Okay, so and I remember the whole commercial, and they gave up their ability to transform to have more power. And I remember that's just stupid. They're called Transformers. And even again, Super 7, who does these non-trans, and again, I'm not a fan of Super 7, but now as an adult, I'm like, I'm never gonna transform them anyway. I want them in robot form. And if I don't, I'll buy the vehicle form.
You know what's funny? I have them all in robot mode on my shelf. And guess what? When the last time I transformed those were? Probably bottom.
Yeah. And I can remember when my kid was younger, he had these, they were basically Hot Wheels. They were the movie Transformers. And when you stood them up, they were the robot.
Right.
They didn't transform. You just stood them up. I'm like, that's genius because little kids don't care. Like you're driving around, Optimus Prime, and then he stands him up and he's a robot. He's not going to move his hands. He just kind of wobble him around, right?
Yep. And sometimes they had those one-step transformations where if you just like pull on something, then they would explode and look like kind of a robot.
Well, my son had he had the Ironhide and the Bumblebee movie Transformer. And I remember after a while, I told him, I said, I will transform it once a week because, oh my God, there's no way a kid was transforming it.
Was it like the 2007 movie? Like the very first live action one?
Yep.
Those are really hard. Like, it's hard for my brain to see that like clean looking car or vehicle mode turn into the weird design robots that they designed. There's just something about them because of all the bits and the parts. I can't see it turning into a clean.
No, because again, when you watch the cartoon, you had the actual transformer and you saw how it transformed. It was very simplistic.
Yep.
But it worked, right? You didn't see a car, like you didn't see the Peterbilt when Optimus was a robot. When Sideswipe changed from his Lamborghini, you didn't see the Lamborghini. You saw Sideswipe. So I didn't understand why they did that. And then they did that whole Galvatron thing where that made even less sense. But then again, in those Transformers movies, they totally forgot about the cube. Like that fully got dropped. And then they totally, their timeline of when the Fallen was there made no sense because it's like,
right.
Wait a minute. Didn't Megatron leave well before it? Like,
well, if you remember what happened between Transformers 1 and then the second one, the writer's strike. So that makes perfect sense why that movie made no sense.
Yeah, you could still. I mean, whoever wrote it could still look at the first movie and be like, okay. And they filmed a lot of those movies here. A lot of the movies here.
Yeah.
Because we actually had a copier in for part 3, and I remember looking down, and they weren't filming at the time, but I remember looking down. I'm like, I have to remember this for when the movie comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the part where Optimus Prime is going into, like, when he shows up going into Chicago. I was looking down at that whole set,
right?
Because I remember how it was set. And I kind of took just a mental image so I could remember. And then I also remember at the skate park there were the stuntmen would come. They skated, so they come there and they'd skate. Yeah. And so I got to talking to some of them, and they got done working, and they came, and there's 5 of them that skated, and they did that for a whole summer. So are you into any of the independent stuff other than the independent Transformer stuff?
No
Mythic Legion, no Valaverse.
I think no. My collecting is, I think, based off nostalgia. So a lot of these independent lines, I can appreciate it, but it doesn't hold anything. A lot of things, so I can't get all these masterpiece Transformers that I want. I mean, some of them have been out for a while because of budgetary reasons. So I usually do my collecting by importance on how I want it. Okay. So I like some of that independent stuff, but there's other stuff I'd rather get, to invest in.
That's how we're supposed to handle things.
Right. I try to be about as responsible as you can be with buying toys, right?
It's not easy. I mean, but again, I know everyone said once you get one, everyone said once you get the Mythic Legion, you're gonna want them all. I didn't feel like that. I loved it, and I do like picking up more, but I didn't have that. I need them all now.
Right.
Where G.I. Joe, the exact opposite. Right. I need them. And
this is my second go around with Classified. I got mad with the Cobra Island thing. I was like, screw it, I'm done. Sold them all. And then the Range Viper, that damn Range Viper. There was something about it. I was like, shit. And they were doing things better in my nostalgia eyes, or whatever, however the best way you'd say it, to what I was wanting. They were designing them how I wanted them. And then I just bought 3 of those Range Vipers, and then I pretty much got everything back within a year. But that was when I was selling all my Transformers at the same time. So I would sell my Hasbro Transformers and pick up a few Classifieds here and there, and then I'm fine, and I'm caught back up again.
I don't think I've ever had to rebuy back anything other than my O-ring stuff that obviously has broken and stuff. So I've never really sold anything off and then had regrets and I got to get that again. So you're Classified, Transformers, and then you're picking up more.
A little bit. I'm trying to stay a little bit, but
what about Street Fighter?
Oh yeah, I'm getting Street Fighter stuff.
What do you think about those? They're so good.
They feel nice. That's Why can't all action figure companies feel like that? And then, you're only paying. Well, you was only paying $25 for them.
Yeah, they snuck that $30 price point at, like,
right.
Everyone was like, "Oh, hey, they're deluxe. That's why they're 30." And then you're like, "Wait a minute, the rest of them are still 30 now."
Right. And then, are you tempted for that ugly ass green M Bison because he comes with that flame body effect? Have you seen those?
I'm tempted, but I have not bought any of the
exclusives.
I haven't ordered any of the exclusives. I have all the ones I found at Target. But and again, like, I love the Chun-Li faces.
Yeah.
I think that one looks awesome. I love the nunchucks. They come with Fei Long.
I know.
But for some odd reason, when I go to buy something and it's a reasonable price, I think they were like $35 or $38. But once I see that shipping and handling, and it's not a set price, I'm like, I can't do it.
Yep.
And again, why? I mean, I just, HasLab came off. Here you go. Because I have specific credit that I use for what I buy my toys with.
Right. Well, I think it kind of relates to what I said. I try to buy things that are more important than to splurge on other things.
But my thing is, I see that as the moment I see that shipping and handling, I'm like, I can't do it.
If only it was a surcharge and then it removed after you processed it. Might not be as bad.
I can't believe how much that has confused people. It's like, dude, okay, I understand, like, it's not very clear, but we all should have some sort of common sense to figure out what they're doing.
Right.
They're basically saying, hey, if you don't have the Pulse Premium membership, it's going to cost you at least half of that. So why don't you just go get it?
I just think it's just the AI overlords are creating these accounts and they just want to screw with us. That's all it is. This is how Skynet takes over. They infiltrate our Facebook and make dumb comments just to piss us off.
Don't even get me started on that. It's got to be at least 3 or 4 times a month on my shows, and I'm like, am I the only one that saw fucking Terminator? Yeah. Like we keep wanting more and more, and I'm like, okay, do we need to just like re-release them in the movie theater for free? Hey, everyone, come see this awesome movie that came out in 1992.
Who would have thought that was an actual educational film?
Well, it's kind of like what's the Idiocracy.
Yeah.
That could never happen. Holy shit, we're living it. So let's talk about your YouTube then a little bit, because you are doing reviews, right? And then you're also you're now a co-host of, is it 3 people?
No, it's just Figure Fight Club.
Yeah, but there's 3 of them, right?
Yeah, so it's Abby. Abby's the main account holder or whatever. He started the account, and then he included me and Maximilian Tucker as co-hosts to the channel.
Okay. And that's when the guy with sunglasses left.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Illustrated Figs. Okay. Yeah.
I have no idea who he is.
He found stuff that we found as teenagers, and it's taken over pretty much. That's not throwing shade at him. He's.
What do you mean?
Owned up to it. He's got a special lady in his life.
Oh.
And he realized action figures was kind of taking over, like, big time. Like worse than some of us. Like his entire house was filled with stuff.
So there's this girl that I met. I've never met her. I'm friends with her on Facebook through another Facebook group from years and years and years ago, right? Many, many, many years ago. And like she's still in like the group or whatever. And so one day she's posting stuff of her fiance, and I see that they're G.I. Joe. And I was like, I'm like, are those G.I. Joe that I see? And she was like, she goes, yeah, they are. I go, you should tell. I go, you need to. I go, you need to tell your fiance that you're friends with a semi-famous GI Joe YouTuber. And she goes, I know, he already pointed it out. I said, what? She goes, he saw you make a comment and said, hey, how do you know this guy? Well, I noticed that you could tell, you know, when someone breaks up, right? Like you can see when they've broken up. And, you know, I messaged her and I said, hey, I'm sure right now you're probably getting all these people jumping in your inbox, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm just wondering, by any chance, do you have any of those G.I. Joes left over?
Right. I want your toys, not your.
Yeah, not your toys. And she kind of laughed and she was like, actually, that's part of the reason why we broke up. That he was spending too much money on toys, and that's what he was doing, and wasn't worrying about planning our wedding and everything. And I was like, I can actually fully understand your point of view, and I can fully understand how he did what he did. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to go down that path, and it's like, this stuff makes me happy. You've kind of pissed me off today.
Right. You're causing stress in my life. These wonderful pieces of plastic are not.
No, not until that credit card payment comes in. And you're like, son of a bitch. I spent how much? All right. So anyway, so let's talk about what you do on your channel, though, and then we'll get into the live streaming.
So right now I'm just doing 2 reviews a week. I try to drop. Well, no, I don't try. I do. I drop a Transformers review on Tuesdays, and I drop an action figure review on Friday. And lately, I've been live streaming on Sundays, building these things, these blockies. Doing live stream builds. And then between time, I'm just posting news shorts and doing, like, if I find any news or whatever, or new pictures of stuff, he may come back. Oh, that's nice. So Brandon might come back. Oh,
sounds like you came on with me and he's looking to replace you already.
Right. But so it's usually what I do. I just fill my social medias with this news stuff, and that's kind of helped do a little bit of growth too. But there was something I always did. So I was in a Transformers like Discord group with some friends, and I was always posting news on there, and get the conversation started or get people talking. And I was like, why don't I just like do this and create content out of it and see what happens? And that's kind of what's happened. And part of it is I like being in the chat room and talking to you guys. I want to do it face to face like we are now. So that was the goal. And the other stuff is just things I did naturally to begin with. Because I collect the toys, I might as well talk about them. I'm looking up all this news. I might as well post it and talk about it.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where there's a lot of toy collectors, but are there a lot of toy collectors in your area? It's like, you don't really get to talk to people. The people that talk to you about toys are like the guys you work with that are like, so like, are they worth anything? Like they're just interested in how like why you do it. They're not interested in like, you can't talk to them like, dude, look at this fucking Duke, man. Like,
even if they might not even be interested. I'm glad people I work with don't know how much money is involved in toys at my desk at work.
When I would have stuff sent to my work when I was with my ex, and it was O-ring stuff. Again, I've been single for over 10 years. It would be like, how much is this worth? And my answer is always whatever someone will pay. Now, at that, 11 years ago, I look back at what I was paying 11 years ago. I'm like, wow, like I wish I would have bought a lot more because, it's worth a lot now.
Yeah.
So then, and then you're just doing like, do you do the little blockies alone?
Sometimes people will come and join.
Okay.
So if usually I just did an open invitation, be like, hey, if anybody wants to hop on and build them with me, then we'll do a stream together.
Okay.
Because that's one thing. Like, so I'm worried I don't want to have dead air. So it's kind of nice to bounce off with people. But at the same time, as I'm building these, I'm talking as I'm building them. So that kind of alleviates some of the, I don't know, like to where where I feel like not nervous, I guess, maybe.
So I know, and I've talked about guys like Legend Series, where I'm like, he does a show by himself, and his wife is normally there, but he's just talking, and then he'll kind of take a break where he doesn't talk for 15, 20 seconds.
Right.
I am the exact opposite, where I just have this feeling like, man, I have to constantly entertain. I have to constantly be. So when I'm doing my Monday show, I feel like I have to constantly, like, no one's leaving. If I stop for 20 seconds and I don't really say anything, it might be kind of awkward because you're just focused on my face. But it's like, no one's leaving, but it's in my mind. It's like, okay, I have to constantly keep going because that's what they're there for.
Yep.
And the chat's going back and forth,
and
they're
helpful
with each other.
I would imagine, right?
What?
Having the chat there is another tool at your disposal if you want to talk about something.
Yeah. So in the chat, I know for me, and one of the things when I started doing it, Matthew was like, you have to stop reading the chat. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, stop. He's like, you get fixated on it. People, and now you and again, the biggest thing with getting fixated on it was like, I read something, but then I don't know what they're talking about, and then I'm trying to scroll back.
Right.
He's like, you got to stop. People are having conversations in there.
Yeah.
And it still happens from time to time where I'll see something, and then you want to see what they're talking about. Matthew would normally fill me in after, or Ed will, but it's like, you want to read what people are saying. That has to do with you. But when people are having their own conversations, you have to learn to ignore it. And
I imagine the amount of people watching your stream, and you probably can't keep up with it to a certain point anyways.
Yes and no. Like, again, I've gotten really good at realizing like the conversations that specific people are having.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, I think at the end of Monday, I had 1,900 chats. So, and again, that could be in, this, LMAO, right? That's one chat. So, you get somebody that's going back and forth, two people that are going back and forth, how, they may have, 50 chats, between each other.
Right.
So you just have to learn how to ignore that. But I use the chat because I always say without the chat, the stream is nothing. There's no reason even for me to have a stream. I mean, there is a reason because then I get to talk about, but like people are there because it's like hanging out at a bar, except you don't have to get drunk.
Right.
You don't have to leave your house. How about that?
It's bullshitting with like-minded individuals.
Exactly. So when you get on to do this, and again, I'm more proud of this show than my Monday show because I feel like I brought on people that have that don't talk, like they're only in the chat. People have got to know who certain people are. Right. I know Monday is way more popular, so I understand that. Monday is so much more frustrating, and what I mean by that is usually on Sunday I'm sitting in here putting slides together. Monday, before I go live, usually around 8:30, I sit down and I write what I'm gonna talk about in the open. Then I have my slides. I hate using websites. I did it this week because there were so many of the Mythic Legions. Yep. When you're trying to sit here like this and you're going through it, I don't watch the chat.
Right.
When I have my slides done, it's just taking me to the next slide. So I'm able to watch the chat, what's going on. And I don't have to worry about looking over here or worrying about a pop-up popping up.
And I can't remember if I heard you or somebody else mention that about websites. I can't stand websites. And that's why on the Monday show, I do slides. I make a slideshow because of that. And I don't like dealing with the website either because it pulls you away from StreamYard.
I didn't do it at first. I didn't realize how much it was doing it till like, and again, there are going to be times that I don't, because like there's too many pictures to go through. Just like,
Right.
the Mythic Legions. And sometimes when you save a picture, it doesn't it doesn't show up.
Is that Google Slides? Is that what you're using? Google Slides?
I use PowerPoint.
Okay. I haven't tried PowerPoint. I've been using Google Slides, and sometimes the pictures won't populate on there. So I don't know if it's a certain image type.
I think it's a certain image type, but I don't know what it is, because
I'm doing it all on
if
my
I go
phone.
to the folder, it's there.
Right. How are you doing it? Because I'm doing it on my phone.
I do it on my computer.
Okay. And I'm holding save image or whatever, and then it goes in my photo files. But then if I try to transfer them to the slideshow, sometimes they don't transfer. That's Google Slides, which is weird.
But that seems like it should, because it should be all saved in the same. Do you use an iPhone or an Android?
iPhone.
That's what I use. So I would assume it's always the same, but I don't know. Like I've had it more when, let's say it's a topic. So I save a bunch of pictures, and then I'm going through them and I'm like, wait a minute, I had more pictures than this. And then because I just do the whole save it, I save all 10 pictures or whatever. Then sometimes you don't realize you had 15 pictures because you're just quickly doing it. It's different when you're doing the G.I. Joe news and you're like, hey, where the hell's CoverGirl at? Like, why, that I see.
It's different if it's like a random snake man from some other third party company or first party company or whatever.
But yeah, and again, I didn't realize that at first. And then there's some websites, God bless them. I love the Toy Sorceress and Michael from Toy Habits, right? Yep. Great people. Had them both on the show. I've talked to Michael for years, right? Their website is awful, and it's because they have all the pop-ups. Right. I know why they have the pop-ups. They have the pop-ups because it pays them. All right. Before the show, I talked to Michael. I was blown away at how much money they made off that website from all the pop-ups. Right. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Good for them. I understand why I'm not using yours unless I fucking have to. And they know it. Even better when I had Quip on, and Quip said the same fucking thing about how bad the site was to use.
Maybe that's where I heard it from you guys talking, because I do a lot of listening at work, and sometimes I try to catch as much stuff as I can. But yeah, I think that's where I might have heard it, was when you and Quip were talking about it.
Yeah, I know recently we just but I mean, I brought it up numerous times. Like I brought it up numerous times.
So one of the things I'm trying to get better at is making my slideshow throughout the week as I'm saving these pictures on my phone. This is what I found a lot easier. So I'm not using PowerPoint. I'm using the Google Slide app on my phone.
Okay.
I'll put those on the Google Slides and kind of manipulate them either on my phone, then fine tune them on my computer. And if I'm doing that as I'm finding the pictures, it kind of saves time. So I'm not doing it last minute on like a Sunday or a Saturday before the Monday show.
So, I'm
getting a confession here, aren't I?
I've mentioned this before. I normally don't look at toy news till Saturday or Sunday when I start doing it, except for G.I. Joe. Like if it's G.I. Joe or something that like I'm going to order,
you don't want to miss on those pre-orders. That
I see what comes out, but I don't go and look. So like all that McFarlane stuff, all the Motu stuff. I'll know when Mezco stuff drops because it shows, but I don't go and look at. I go and look at actually, I order the G.I. Joe stuff. And then half the time when I get to do my slides, I'm like, I didn't even look at the photos.
So typically my weekday, I get to work. I make coffee because I'm usually one of the first ones in the shop that I make coffee, And as the coffee's brewing, I'm on my phone going through all the Chinese message boards, seeing if there's any new news on all these different pages, and then pulling images from those pages and then throwing them up on my Instagram and TikTok and all that other stuff.
So that's something that I didn't like, that I don't do. Like, we know that there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of drama with some of the toy tubers, some that were saying they got most copyright strike.
No.
I don't do news bursts. Like, if that's not like, if something drops and I know, I might post it on Instagram, but for the most part, I don't do it. Like, I don't, like, that's not my thing. I don't even consider, like, what I'm doing isn't even like it's not a news show.
Right.
I just kind of recap everything.
Yeah.
What Chris McLeod does, he does the news every time G.I. Joe drops. And what other people try and do. Viper Island, he waits to Chris McLeod and then I'm sorry.
Yep. And a lot of times I don't mess with the Joe News or a lot of the action figure stuff because those guys are really on point. It's this weird niche with third-party Transformer stuff. There's not a whole lot of people talking about it, at least not in the action figure space.
And that's actually probably very smart. So one of the things when I talked to Michael and I was talking to him about his website, is one of the things that he was saying was, he said, like, Jay from Geek Dead Life had reached out and he wanted to know because he wanted to create it, but he wants to do all kinds of news. He said, when we started the website before he was with the Toy Sorceress, and then when him and Larry split up, and then him and the Toy Sorceress started doing it, their idea was, well, let's just focus on the things we collect. Motu, G.I. Joe, they do some Thundercats. So they do stuff like that, and they go, we would rather have all of those collectors coming in to check out our stuff rather than having a wide variety of all the news and only some people coming in. It makes it easier for us because it's just her and I doing it. We write our stories, and I go, that's actually genius, to be honest. Like, that makes total sense. This way you're not diluting everything, trying to get everyone. And it's the same way with, I'm monetized, so I might as well just review something. Pretty simple. But I also know, like, if I do a Mythic Legion, man, there may be only like 100. I might get like 300-400 views if I'm lucky. If I do a classified, if I get just over 1,000, then it's a pretty bad video. And again, I'm not, when people go, if I got 1,000, like, well, I'm not. It's comparing apples to oranges. I've been doing it longer. I'm in the algorithm. I'm just saying, like, there's certain things that I do. Cobweb, he does. I was doing Masters of the Universe forever. It just never kicked in. Cobweb does it. He has 2,000 people that watch his video. He's known as a Motu guy. It's awesome. It's right on. It's what it's what you should be doing, kind of how you're focusing, on certain things. And I think that's really smart for you to say, well, why should I cover the G.I. Joe news?
Yeah.
Everyone's already covering it, and everyone knows to go to those places.
Right.
Where if you're like, we get this third party. Wait, is it? Yeah, third party, right?
Yep. Fourth party sometimes.
So when is your live?
So on my channel, it's just Sundays at 7 p.m. is when I've been going live.
Okay.
And then, but the Figure Fight Club show, the Transformer show, that's Monday at 10:15.
I totally miss it. I'm just gonna say.
Well, so that was kind of like the thinking, like, whatever time slot we would pick, we're going to step on somebody. But at the same time, it's Transformers. There's not a lot of cross-pollination between action figure shows and Transformer shows.
Isn't that odd, though?
I find it strange as could be, because I was so big into Transformers. So this is kind of why I've migrated to more action figure channels. Well, first, it's because I've classified and I want to see people talk about them. So I've found groups like you, the show you guys do on Tuesdays, with Terry and Baldy
Circle of
Lots.
Jerks.
Yeah, Circle of Jerks. Thank you. Because I've been in the action figures. And the thing was, there wasn't a lot of Transformers content creators doing live streams. And it was a void for me because I want to talk to people in chat rooms and talk about it. And then you come over the action figure side, holy shit, there's like a show if you get off of work at 5:00, there's a show at 6, there's a show at 7, there's a show at 8, like Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Saturdays and Sunday. It doesn't matter what aspect of action figures, there is a show to watch or listen to in the background all the time. And so that was kind of part of the goal with doing a Transformer show and Figure Fight Club, to pick up maybe some of the audience that's part of Figure Fight Club, but also to fill a void in the Transformers world when it comes to live streaming.
No, and again, I seriously, like, I know on Circle of Jerks, like, Spec collects Transformers, and they'll be like, so does anyone collect Transformers? And we're all like, I couldn't, like,
it's so funny.
I could not care less.
Right.
Again, I'm glad that they have them, because I'm not one of those people that's like, because I don't like it, no one should have it. Like, I don't care. Like, it's great. Like, I don't think that Hasbro can either make G.I. Joe or Transformers, but I am surprised that there isn't more of a crossover, because you would think with G.I. Joe and Transformers, I mean, they're literally trying to do a crossover. The book is it's always been a crossover.
Supposedly,
but it is really funny how that is,
And supposedly it's going to be a TV series.
That they need it.
Yep.
They definitely need that for G.I. Joe, not Transformers so much.
Right.
Like I said, how hard is it to convince like, hey kid, do you want this robot? That's also a fucking car.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, and the other thing is Transformers is supported by Takara in Japan and the Asia territories. So there's stuff going on over there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even if it's not being done over here, it's being done somewhere.
Yeah. But again, like, and so I want to talk about, like we said, about stepping on people's toes. And I've told people this before. I always make the joke. I'm like, are you sure you really want to go live at 9 p.m. on Monday? Are you sure? But my thing is, there's so many people doing it. And it was brought up by a few people after Joe Fest last year, not this year, last year. Everyone started doing live streams. And again, there were a lot, but after that, everyone. And I know when I started mine, I looked at Sunday, and that was Geek Dad Life. He was the juggernaut. Yep. And then on Tuesday, it was Toy Habits, which I always liked watching both of them. So I didn't want to go either on that day. Wednesday we skateboarded. Thursday I didn't have anything. I didn't want to do Friday or Saturday, because you say you were going to do stuff and then you realize you're an introvert and you don't want to leave your house. So
you turn YouTube on and start watching something.
You know what? People have been like, there's been a few people that kind of aggravated with me that I haven't been jumping on streams on the weekends, but I'm like, I will turn it off till usually when Hella Dope comes on.
Right.
I mean, I'll watch like Robo Don't Know and Robo and shit like that, just so I can catch up, and then I do my own stuff. But I don't go on. I haven't been on a lot of live streams on the weekend because I'm just like, I need to decompress and get away from it all. But I left. It left me Monday or Thursday, so I went with Monday. And I kind of told you earlier on, I wasn't really worried about football, wrestling a little bit. But the one thing that I said to people, I go, hey, if you want to do a live stream and Monday at 9 p.m. is the only time that you can do it, it's what works for you, then you do it.
Right.
You don't, you don't want, if you're a dick and you're like, hey, you know what? I don't like this guy. I'm going to go on. And then that's on you. All right.
Right.
My job has never and will never be to make someone want. My job is never going to be to make someone not watch you and watch me. Right. My job is to make you want to watch me. And if that means that at 9 p.m. you're watching Jerkin Games and you're like, hey, you know what? I want to hear what Punk has to say right now, and I'm going to go back and watch Jerking Gains after. Awesome. If you're like, you know what, I like Jerking Gains more, I'm going to watch them, and then when I'm done, I'm going to jump on over to Punk stream, and I'm going to watch that, and then I'll figure, I'll go back and I'll watch the beginning of it. That's my goal, and I think that's how everyone should be, right?
Yep.
Competition is good. I think it's. I mean, I do think it's weird that both Gaines and Jerk both do shows on Monday and Thursday at 8 p.m. going into my.
I remember you and Jerk talking about that when he was on the show.
He brought it up and he was like, I didn't realize. I'm like, I don't, dude. There's YouTube's a big world, right?
Right.
And like I said, my competition is to make myself better.
Right.
And I think that's how it should be. I will say this. So when we started doing Circle of Jerks, the one thing I said is I will not go on against my moderators. They start at 9. If we can finish before 9, that's fine. It's already aggravating that my moderator goes from like 9 to 10 and my other one goes from 9 to 11. My other moderator goes from like 10 to 1. Like, really? You guys cross over each other?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not going on against them. Like, it's just rude. And,
Well, it's funny. It's like, there's so many like shows out there. Like there's shows I don't even know about that you've named. And I might have heard them by name, but I might not have watched them. That's how big it is. Just the same thing. Like, Transformer fans don't really cross over with action figure fans.
Yeah, and there's so many, because when you get into like, it's like if you like G.I. Joe, you get to know who the G.I. Joe guys are. Right. But when you start to veer off, you're like, oh, there's these Mythic Legion guys, right? They're going to do shows all the time. And you're like, I've never heard of them. And then you realize, well, they mostly talk fantasy. That doesn't really interest me, but they could be just as popular as anyone else that you're watching. But a whole different realm, and you're like, there's a lot of toy collectors.
Yeah,
there's just not a lot of crossing over with live streams. So as for what you do with Figure Fight Club, tell everyone what you do over there.
All right, so originally started out as a co-host to help Abby with some of the other show responsibilities. So originally it was Tuesday nights was the open mic night where anybody could come join and carry on the conversation with us, show and tell, talk about toys. Helped out a lot with that. And then our Friday show it's typically an interview show. A lot of times we're trying to get developers on there. And sometimes we'll have other figureheads on there. Like we've had D Amazing on there, which was a really good interview. Sir Dork, like I'd never even heard of Sir Dork. I've seen his photos, but never knew it was him. We interviewed him one evening. That was a really good conversation. And then 3 weeks ago, we started a Monday show called Decepticast. It's purely Transformers focused. And if you're a GoBots fan, GoBots are part of the Transformers lore. So I'm sure we'll cover GoBots. But we might dip our toes a little bit in some other robots. But the main focus is Transformers. And that could be either official stuff or third-party stuff or anything that's the Transformers brand or stealing the Transformers brand, like some of these KO companies or third-party companies do.
That's the best form of flattery right there, right?
Yeah. And I would love to talk to one of the Hasbro developers and ask, be like, you guys buy these third-party Transformers and it's free R&D, right? It's got to be.
I can't imagine. So it would be like me saying I never watch another reviewer.
Right.
I watch other reviewers to see what they're doing and how they're doing things. I already have my style. I've developed how my style is, and people like my style. There are people that are like, you've gone too long. You know what? Then go watch Bobby B. Bobby B is fucking awesome. Guess what? It's going to be pretty cut and dry. He shows you exactly what it is. He doesn't show his face because he doesn't care. he just gets right into the heart of everything, right?
Yep.
So, but it's stupid not to watch other people and do your research. And again, not research to like, how can I destroy them? But like, hey, maybe they're doing something that I'd like to take that
right,
the specific aspects from it.
Like how they've set stuff up, maybe they're backstage or how they cut or anything like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like having a background is huge.
Yep.
And
yeah, it's funny. When I first started, there was nothing other than a white background on mine. Now I have like figures everywhere.
I pointed out. We were talking about it a couple weeks ago, and I kept pulling like dial tone. It was right after the figures came, and I said, I'm like, people keep bitching about dial tone, so I started keeping dial tone in a bunch of my reviews. him and Heavy Duty, because I forgot, like, everyone's like, oh my god, Heavy Duty shipping, and I was like, dude, he's been sitting over there for like 4 months. But when you get stuff early, you tend to forget that not everyone got it,
right?
Because now I'm not looking to watch other people's reviews, and because the people that normally get it early. So that's when you see them and you're like, oh, 5, 6 of them pop up. Boom, you watch them. Then you just kind of forget about it.
Right.
And Pop Blender says people gravitate towards who they like and topics they cover. Also, many folks stream hop. It's funny seeing the viewers drop by tens or go to tens depending on who's streaming and the topic. The only reason why that happens is if they're watching on their phone. If you're on your computer, you don't have to leave someone's stream.
Right.
But you're on your phone, you're like, damn it.
But there's been times where I've had like my TV on somebody's stream, on my phone on somebody else's stream. That hasn't happened too much, because sometimes I just try to stay focused on whoever I'm watching and not do multiple screens at once. But that has happened.
I'd be lying if I didn't say that there weren't times that I have 2 streams open and you're actually listening to both. But you can kind of see, like, sometimes you focus in on more. I did a lot with Geek Dead Life and Hella Dope Toys. So I have them both on a lot. Allison does it all the time. She'll have like multiple screens on. Because sometimes, like, it's funny, you'll be like, like, you'll see someone and they're like, they're in another stream and you're like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. And I was pretty notorious, or I could keep up and watch shows in the evening. But now my schedule's changed, especially doing more stuff with Figure Fight Club or my own channel. And then I've been working more because I picked up a second like part-time job. And now most of my stream watching is at work at my day job, just listening on my phone while I'm just doing whatever.
Is it mostly what you watch, or do you watch other stuff? Or are you mostly just watching?
It's mostly what I watch, but I try to watch other stuff too, especially if it's like reviews that I want to know things about. But mostly it's stuff that I would already watch.
But do you watch
because I can't watch it during the evening times anymore.
But do you watch other stuff on YouTube?
What do you mean? Like other toy stuff?
Non-toy stuff.
Oh, yeah, every now and then, like electronics and stuff now, especially since I'm kind of changing my like streaming area.
So there's certain people I watch. Because I've said before, like, I was watching everyone that I liked for the longest time. I watch everything, watch the live streams afterwards. And then you start realizing that, holy shit, I can't watch toys all the time. And I'm doing so much. I listen to Unsolved Mysteries. I went down this road of this Englishman who is he does documentaries about gangsters in the US, and once one populates, it continues to populate.
And then you have the weirdest algorithm ever, and there's never toys in it anymore.
And that happens too, because you watch one And then you're like, okay. Just like when I talk about how I don't have time to hate watch, and I know there's a lot of people, they love to hate watch.
Yeah.
But you go and you watch one person that you don't like, guess what? YouTube is like, you must really like this stuff. And you're like, no, dude, I wanted to hear one stupid fucking thing they said.
Right.
Stop giving me fucking Viper Island every goddamn fucking second. Although he's fucking pure gold, if you don't know.
That's why you need to get you just need to create a second account to just do that searching on. So all that bullshit goes to that algorithm's account.
Yeah. So like, he says here, like, yeah, I've been watching a lot of travel videos. See, I don't watch that, but you hit one and next thing you know, like I hit Al Capone and next thing I know, there's like 4 Al Capone videos popping up.
Yeah.
But Al Capone leads to other gangsters. But then you watch one murder mystery or one unsolved mystery, and there's 48 hours just popping up like crazy.
One night I was in here streaming. My son was in the living room watching TV, and instead of logging on his YouTube account, he logged on mine. And whatever bullshit he was watching, I saw all the history, and it was like popping up on my, suggested. I had to go delete every single one of those off my viewer history, and I'm like, dude, you got to go on your account. You can't watch these on my account. Oh, because it was just a stupid Minecraft shit.
Ugh. My buddy Adam that I do the TV terminal with, that we watch the TV show, he was saying that his son was watching like the video game stuff, and finally he was like, why does this shit keep popping up? And then he's like, all right, we need to create an account for you because I can't have this. I can't deal with seeing all these video game stuff popping up, But it's absolutely crazy. It's crazy that shit happens. But yeah, that's what happens to me. And like I'll watch one skate video, and you can't watch skate videos while you drive, right? Because you're watching skate.
It's more of a visual thing, right?
Than it is an audio. But like unsolved mysteries, and I'm not saying unsolved mystery. I'm saying like, cold cases, 48 hours. You just turn it on and you listen to it.
Yeah.
So there's certain things like the gangsters. Like I don't need to see some grainy video from 1932. Like I'm not seeing anything. All right. But that leaves the Bonnie and Clyde, and then you're like, oh wow. And then today I watched. I don't even know why it popped up. The kid from Sequest that Brandon
Jonathan Brandis.
Yes, that's what his name is. Like I watched one and then the next one so now I'm all caught up on him.
That's funny.
There's nothing new coming out from him.
You go back and watch that movie he was in, Ladybugs, with Rodney Dangerfield.
Well, it makes me want to watch Sequest.
Oh, because I never got into that.
I didn't either.
I remember it.
Such an interesting concept.
Didn't he have like a pet dolphin that would talk to him?
I have no idea. I've never watched it.
Oh, okay. I thought you said he. All right.
The only pet dolphin I know, or the only dolphin I know that talked, was Johnny Mnemonic.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which I remember watching that movie, and then when you find out that the dolphin is the leader, I was like, we fucking watched this goddamn fucking movie to find that out.
Yeah.
All right. So let me just ask you. We can kind of wrap it up. It's been over 3 hours. Where do you see your YouTube channel going, or your whole social media? Where, like, do you have an idea of what you want with it?
Yeah. So I try to tell myself that I don't care about the numbers. Like I said, I just want to be part of the conversation. That's more than anything. I just want to talk about this stuff because I enjoy talking about it, or I enjoy listening, about these toy topics. So that's my main goal. My main goal is to do stuff like this, like what we're doing right now. I mean, we're talking about me at the same time, but we're also talking about everything else. And that's that was the ultimate goal. The numbers are fun. Like, it's cool to go on my phone every hour and be like, oh, hey, I got a couple more subscribers. It's added to that ego boost, I guess.
It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good because people are watching it and people are like, hey, I want to see more.
Right.
We all have an ego. Or we all have to have some sort of an ego, right?
Right. 100%.
So
and it's really nice. Like the Monday show, I brought in one of my friends that I've been talking to for years about Transformers, and she was I kind of stole her from another like podcasting show or live stream show, but she wasn't getting what she would like to get out of that sometimes, and I've given her not me. It's just she's part of the team.
yeah,
So it's been fun these last 3 episodes. Now she missed an episode, so she was in the middle of a move, but this last episode it was a lot of fun because we was talking about those blocky figures that I was showing. Those are kind of merging between Transformers and action figure fans. It's actually kind of funny to see it.
no,
So if you ever have a chance, check that show out because we invited quite a few people to talk about their experiences with these blockies, and they're all like people that are a lot of them are action figure collectors.
no, I've actually heard people mention the blockies because I didn't know what they were until you showed me.
Right.
But I heard people because I was like, I know I've heard blockies, and we're not talking about. When I think of blocky, I literally think of
building blocks.
Minecraft. I think of Minecraft. Oh, give me 1 second here, and
here comes the money. Here we go. Money talk. Here comes the money.
Afflicted Studios with a 1999 super chat saying, Talib. I gotta say it that way.
I don't care. You can say it whatever way if you feel more comfortable.
Talib, thank you for the video games. So it was just like Mendoza. Just remember that. You ever see him? It's not Mendoza. It's Mendoza.
Have you seen him personally?
Who?
Mendoza.
I have not. I mean, okay. I've seen him. Like I've never met him personally.
Okay.
I mean, I've seen him.
Is that how you're going to say hi to him if you do meet him personally?
Well, this guy right here, let's see if I can find him. He found me at Joe Fest and he introduced himself and I corrected him in front of his wife and I said it's not Clint Jorgensen, it's Clint Jorgensen. I am yes, I am that person. I think there he is. I can vouch for that. And the funniest thing was his wife goes, because he kind of introduced me and she goes, "Oh yeah, you're a punk with toys." Yeah, I hear you all the time.
That's funny. You know what? I've listened to enough YouTubers. My kid asked me about them and how they're doing and stuff like that. And some people are like, "You let your kid listen?" I'm like, I mean, yeah, he's 9 years old, but I have a foul mouth when I talk in front of him. It's no worse than what he's going to hear at school anymore. And kids been talking about stuff they shouldn't be talking about now anyway. So,
yeah. I mean, my daughter, not with me. She's 16 now, but last year, her and her mom watched Orange Is the New Black.
Yeah, that one I wouldn't let. Yeah. Yeah,
well, I didn't. No, but it's not that I've never sworn in my reviews, but I try not to.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah. And I've mentioned to Tony when he started doing, I'm like, you might want to watch some of the stuff you say. I'm like, again, you can talk however you want, but I don't know how you raise your kid. And maybe you just want to turn on my review and you want to watch it. And if I'm dropping an F-bomb here and an F-bomb there, and you might be like, I don't really want my kid watching this. Or maybe you watch them together because believe it or not, there are kids and, kids and their parents that do enjoy this together. I go, my live streams, that's different. It's after 9:00.
Yep.
I'm going to swear. And I know it kind of sounds ridiculous, but not everyone's watching my live streams. But the reviews are for anyone that is interested in the figures. So for me, I just find it better not to, because then I don't have to worry about in the comments someone going, I tried watching this with my kid and fuck this, fuck that. And, and when I do swear, it usually means that I'm pissed off about something or something's awesome.
Yeah, typically in my reviews, I try not to swear. Like when we're doing stuff like this, then yeah, I'll let a few curse words out. But now, and like in my personal life, especially when I'm driving and dealing with a-holes on the road, there might be a few F-bombs come out a little bit more freer than.
Again, if you see me in my office or in my shop, I'm different. But I have to go into. I'm going into fixed copy machines. I'm going to people's offices. I can't talk like that.
Right.
And even when I hear other people talking like that in the office, like in someone else, I don't talk like that because I'm a guest in there. And there are some people that I get to know and I can kind of, swear a little bit, but that's one of those, I try not to,
try to be professional, even on YouTube, somewhat try to be professional.
Yeah. But again, if you don't care, then that's cool. But at the same time, just understand that everyone can sit there and say, I'm not doing YouTube to make money. I understand that. But if my content is monetized, why wouldn't I want to make as much money off the Footloose figure as possible?
Right.
I'm not independently wealthy, contrary to what a lot of people might think, because I have a lot of toys. I'm just irresponsible with my money. Mendoza says, I try not to swear in is still around. Dude, so my son, like my daughter, I know they swear around their mom. And I've heard my dad. But first off, we've all heard my daughter swear, right? Where's it at?
Fucking Phil Collins.
And I gave her free reign to say that because of the whole Phil Collins thing.
Yeah.
And it's like my son doesn't care. And he's gonna be 19, but I'm like, dude, I'm just asking you not to. But he doesn't care. He still does. Dude, I probably heard my dad say drop the F word less than 10 times in my entire life. It's just something that Allison, yes. Phil Collins. That's not true at all. And the only Lambo that I have is the diecast car.
He's got a sideswipe.
Yes. I don't have sideswipe anymore. I actually sold that. I bought the newer one. This was years ago, years before YouTube and everything. I bought when they redid it, and then I got rid of it for some reason. And Ed says my dad said the F word 10 times in a minute. And again, I do too.
My mom, she had a foul mouth. That's where I got mine.
That's how my ex is. My ex would say, I'm like, Susan, stop swearing around the kids. That's how they know I'm mad. You're always doing it.
Right.
You've lost it. Yeah. You've lost it. Like, believe me, that emphasis on that you're mad is long gone because they're all like, yeah, mom's swearing again.
Yep.
But yeah, it's my dad, he never swore. Like, I mean, he swore, but I didn't hear my dad say fuck till I was in my 20s, and it slipped out. Because he was trying to fix the washer or dryer, I forget. He was trying to figure out what's going on. And the only time I heard him say it when he was like he was just letting it go was my sister had his car and he called me. He needed to be somewhere. And I showed up to his house and she had just pulled up and he was just cussing her out. And then he had to go somewhere. Well, actually, he had to get home because he was at his girlfriend's house. She was supposed to be back there to pick him up. So when I pulled up there, he got in my car and he said I think he said fuck like 4 times like in about 2 or 3 minutes, which was the most that I had ever heard. And I was like,
something serious.
He's mad. Mendoza says Phil Collins has a single tear run down his cheek every time that is put out in the cosmos. You mean this?
Fucking Phil Collins.
Come on. All I want is just one day to get a message from his representative saying, all right, we need to know what's going on.
like, why is this punk with toys always having somebody say?
Why is he
fuck you?
fucking me? I don't understand this. I'm not
Yeah.
fucking Phil. The funniest thing was that Johnny Reno sent me. It was Phil Collins' like 70th birthday, I forget what it was, and his birthday, and I sent it over to my daughter, and Olivia she responds and says, "That's what he looks like." It didn't dawn on me she has no idea,
Right.
and is 75-year-old Phil Collins or whatever he is, and he
Right.
looks rough. Which, hey, if you're 75, you're allowed to look rough, especially if you have that much money. Just do whatever you want, I guess.
Typically, it's the other way around. They usually take care of themselves, right? Well, I guess musicians not so much. I mean, look at the Rolling Stones. Them guys have been drinking and drugging for how long? Still out there kicking.
I just saw someone say something about like, all you need to know is that they went to like the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, and Keith Richards, and someone else are still alive, and Richard Simmons is dead. And you're like, yeah, that's
because he stopped sweating to the oldies too soon. Should have kept going.
I forgot about that. Bob Linder says, my son is so different. My son and I are so different when it comes to swearing. He doesn't like the music with swear words or swearing in general. Also doesn't care for nudity in movie shows either. Not like his pop. No, that's bullshit. He doesn't want to watch it. Hell, my son is 18 years old. When we're watching a movie and there's a kid that comes on, I'm just like I don't want to like. So
yeah, he just doesn't want to watch it around you. That's what.
Yeah. So years ago, my son wanted to watch. He wanted to watch the first Deadpool. He was still in high school, and he kept asking when he could watch it. I said, "When you're 18." Now he hadn't figured out that what
when the Calendar Girl song kicks in. That scene.
That
was when it's the
strap on.
Scene. Yeah, and the pegging. Yeah.
So, and I would say when you're 18, but I'm never watching it with you. I can watch it with my buddies. All right. I can watch it with a girlfriend. I cannot watch it with my kids. Now, my son would ask me all the time and he'd get all aggravated. And I just kept going, dude, you realize it's right there on Blu-ray. You know, when I get home from work, you're home well before me. You could just grab it. But I never said this. He never figured out that he could have just gone and watched it.
At least the Deadpool Wolverine was a little bit tamer when it came to that stuff. It was just full of violence.
That one was just violence.
Yeah, violence I don't mind as much.
Yeah, I know. For some odd reason, and even like we've watched enough stuff. You forget some of the sexual innuendos on PG-13 stuff from the 80s.
Right. Yeah.
And I'll be watching stuff with my daughter, or even like if nudity comes up with my daughter. Now she's like, we've been watching Buffy, Buffy and Angel. I've said it numerous times. And whoa, towards like after they're no longer like in high school. Oh my God, the sex in it and the sexual innuendos. You're just like, oh. And Olivia's always like, all right, they can get by this. Like, she's like, I don't think she has a problem seeing it, but like, I don't need to be in the room with my dad.
Well, even that first like live action Power Rangers movie, like they put this girl in there half naked, and that was for the dads taking their kids to the Power Rangers movie to have something to look at while they were at the theater.
I don't know if I've ever watched the first Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
That is one that has the original cast, right?
Yeah, it has the original cast. And really bad.
I feel like I would have.
The one with Ivan Ooze was the main.
I feel like I would have because I loved Amy Jo Johnson. Yep. The fact that I know her name and she's not just a pink Power Ranger.
It was a first crush for some kids.
She wasn't my first, but she definitely was a crush.
Yeah.
I think the first one may have been Batgirl.
Ooh, not 66 Batgirl?
Yes.
Yvonne Craig?
Yes. Not Elisa.
Like, punky like redheads?
No, but I liked her. Redheads are kind of crazy.
That's the appeal.
And I literally have a redheaded stepchild. So, but you know what? It's been 3.5 hours. I will continue to talk. I can tell you're the same way. So let's wrap this up. Tell everyone where they can find you, when you're going to go live. Leave out that Monday night. No one wants to watch that. So tell everyone where they can find you and when you're going to be Oh, that's what I quickly wanted to ask you. You said you're doing two reviews a week. You're doing Transformers and then you do an action figure. Yep. Does that mean that you're not like, if you get something early, you don't just do it? You just do you just plan stuff? Do you record it ahead of time? And
I don't record anything ahead of time. So since I have so many Transformers and I'm only 7 months into doing like content creation, I have a big collection that I'll pull something off and film and do a review on it if I don't have something new coming in that week.
Okay.
Action figures, I'm getting enough in to where I have a buffer and I'm just reviewing one a week. Like even like I have this whole Joe wave. I'm only on the second figure to review. So because I just have other stuff. So I might increase it if the stack keeps growing faster than the reviews are dwindling the stack. But right now I just want to stay at that same 2 reviews a week pace.
So I'll give you a suggestion. Take it or leave it. I don't care. You have a lot of old stuff. Like you said, you have a lot of old Transformers. Do 3 or 4 at a time. Pick that day that you want them to go out and set it up.
Schedule.
That's what I've been doing with all the O-ring stuff.
Yeah,
I have a boatload of them, and then I have it scheduled. I think I've shown you guys numerous times. Like I have lists of what dates they're all going out all through into 2026.
So that way, when you're on a show like this, you can rattle that one off, the one that's coming up next or something like that.
Yeah, and it's just done. So let's say, you know, I did the Dreadnoks already. They don't go out for like a few months. And then I realized I'm doing the retro stuff, right? Or not doing, I'm comparing the classified stuff. I'm like, well, I got the classified Viper. Why don't I just, you know, review it, compare it next to the O-ring, and then at the same time do the O-ring video, and then I have it already scheduled. Just schedule it, and then just set it there. Then I don't have to worry about like when that time comes. It makes it easier so when you get busy, you have that schedule that stays on there.
Right. That's a good idea. So last night I was videoing Darklon, and I was like, shit, I should grab another one. But then I was like, oh, it's 1:30 in the morning. I should really go to bed. And so I didn't go with the second one.
And that's a little different. That I fully understand. But like that's why I said like the stuff you already have.
Right.
That way you just have it in the hopper and you're not like, oh shit, I didn't get that done this week.
Right. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So I still have like, you know, I still got to do some stuff for, you know, next week. But I have stuff already done. And I actually have almost all the Joes down just to get them done.
From the older ones?
Yeah. Which is a lot easier than doing like the classified because the style that I do it. This way I can do all the opening and the ending, just changing my shirt. And then I go in and I do the actual review.
Yeah, see, and then I don't have that. I'm not filming myself, so I don't have to worry about changing the shirt or anything like that.
Believe me, the wardrobe change, and I literally call it the wardrobe change.
Have you ever thought about dropping? Well, you're at the point now. You already, that's like part of your review.
That's my thing. Yeah. But I started modifying it. So let's say like when I did the Viper one, I'm like, all right, well, I did the retro Viper. Now I'll just do I don't have to change my shirt because it's going out so far in advance.
Right.
So that like I don't need to worry about. And I guess you don't need to worry about it, but I guess if like you watch like 10 videos and you're like, why does he always have the same shirt on?
So I was going to say, what if you just got like a plain black shirt or a plain gray shirt or just one with no logos or anything on it?
I like to have something on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it gives you personality.
Right.
I mean, when I started, because you asked earlier, when I started doing it, I wanted to have my face on it so people would recognize who I am.
Gotcha.
Now, it's not like I went, this is what I'm gonna do, and people are gonna like. I was like, I want people to see who I am and have a connection with me.
Right.
And I think it's worked pretty well. But what I did figure out to cut down on the wardrobe change, I like saying that. It makes me sound pompous.
You like an actor?
Yeah. So like I figured, well, there's no reason I do Wild Weasel and I do the Rattler. I'm just gonna wear the same shirt because people are assuming, hey, these are done at
Right.
the same time. And they are, but also that Firefly was also done at the same time. But I just had a different shirt on. Yes, and Allison says, and Lawrence needs all the help he can get with his personality.
So my other question was, what's the larger collection now? Your T-shirts or your action figures?
Oh no, it's still the figures. Because if you, so this is another thing that I don't know if it's, I don't know if you ever notice stuff like this. I start looking, going, God, I've wore this shirt a lot, or God, I'm wearing this shirt a lot. Like I do start to notice, but I also notice when like, hey, look, there's Robo. He's wearing that same shirt. Oh yeah, like it's not like I don't think he's washing his clothes or cleaning his clothes, but you just start to notice like,
but
hey,
maybe that's your hang up and nobody else is noticing it.
Okay, so the only reason why I know this,
somebody said something.
Yeah, another YouTuber, not a toy tuber, another YouTuber that talks about, hey, you listen. One way to make sure you have content at all the time. This was Nick Nimmin. One way you have content is film 4 or 5 videos. Like decide like one Saturday, one Sunday a week. Hey, this is what I'm gonna do. He's like, change your shirt in between it so people don't. So that was kind of how it got in my head, or else I might not have even thought about it.
Right.
But I noticed the main reason why I noticed the Robo was because he has a Rancor that's in the Rancid. That's in a Rancid like picture. So I've noticed it a couple of times because it's Rancid. But the Rancor.
Because I've thought about it like for live streams to not have repeat stuff. And then one time I wore this green shirt, and then Abby asked me to take pictures for like promo shots, and I was wearing that same green shirt. He's like, you got any other shirts? I'm like, no, I'm just going to make the green shirt my shtick now.
And again, I'm not against never wearing the same shirt. I just try not to. But at the same time, I do Circle of Jerks, and then I was filming for the TV terminal, but it's completely different. And sometimes I'll even have like, I do a review, and then I'm going live. I'm like, I'm not changing the shirt.
Right.
But I guess you would really have to be looking at the dates when something came off. But all I'm saying, like, if I did if I recorded like 10 classic reviews, and you notice like, dude, you've worn the shirt in the same, Of course, I don't change my background, so you could easily be like, dude, that dark lawn's been in the back for quite some time.
It's like I watch a time lapse of all of his beginning of his videos. I can see the dust accumulate.
I did have one. I think it's a Rattler actually. And I said at the end when I did my outro, I said something like continuation issue or something like that, because I had filmed the intros and the outros. And then I went back like a week later and I filmed the actual reviews. Somehow I deleted the Rattler outro, and the shirt was dirty. And I'm like, I don't care. I bet no one's going to notice. But I made a comment about it. I don't know if anyone ever noticed.
That's funny. It's like a video you think is going to do well and doesn't do well. And then a video that you don't think is going to do well. It's like Gangbusters. Something similar. They didn't notice your shirt. Do you ever have that happen?
What? That people,
where you do a review, you think it's probably going to be a good one, a popular one, and then it's not so much, and then one that you don't have that something for does well.
I watched I think it was the classic review of the Vamp Mark II. and Clutch Mark II did really well in the realm of classic videos. And I'm like, Stinger's going to do really good. And like nobody watched the Stinger.
So weird.
And I had like, like normally if I do something outside of classified, it doesn't do that well. If it gets 1,000, I'm happy. And I know some people think 1,000 is huge, and I get it. But like the Maximum Hulk, I think it hit over 11,000. Didn't expect that. But Red Sonja did awesome for quite some time. It just kept going and going and going.
Well, I think that Red Hulk had so much like buzz around it, because even my little channel, that was one of the better ones of Marvel Legends that I've done in recent compared to the other ones.
The Red Hulk?
The Maximum Hulk. Is that the one you said?
I said Maximum Hulk, and I said Red Sonja.
Okay.
Then you said Red Hulk. That's what I was saying.
Okay. Yeah, I meant the Maximum Hulk.
Yeah, and it depends on like what they are. Savage Crucible that I did, it's done almost 1,200. But the first one that I did, which was Matthews that I reviewed, I think it's closing in at 500 and it's moving like really slowly. I'm like, so why are people watching the one and not this one?
Right.
There was also a I just liked the figure, so I bought it. It was a NECA. Oh God, what Assassin's Creed. I bought it. I reviewed it. Out of nowhere, it started going nuts. So then the white version came out. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna grab it. It did really well. Dude, I'm like, all right, come on. Like, this is a sick joke, right? Like there's like nobody want. Like, how is that even possible?
Right.
But if you do shorts and you put a short on YouTube and you put a short on Instagram and then you put a short on TikTok, you think, well, they should all do roughly the same. And then you look and you go,
nope.
Okay, wait a minute. It's all the same type of people watching the content on each one. How is it that, the short on YouTube got 5,000 views, but on Instagram, it got 50, and then it got 300 on TikTok. And then and again, if you're like, hey, it's just I have a huge YouTube following, this one thing, but then you do it for another one, and the TikTok gets 10,000, and all the other ones get like 300, and you're like, this makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
I could go on and on, but I am going to let you go. It's been over 3.5 hours. I appreciate it. I have to, as I mentioned, I have to go to the courthouse tomorrow for jury duty. But tell everyone where they can find you. That's where we started, and then
All right. So I do reviews on so you can find me everywhere at Talib1980_collects. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X. I'm on Facebook page. YouTube, I do 2 reviews a week, one on Tuesday, Transformers Tuesday, one on Friday, Action Figure Friday. I go live Sunday on my channel and do blocky builds. Probably going to run out of blocky, so I might have to find some other stuff to build, but I don't know. I'll keep buying more blockies probably. And then the one day that shall not be named, I'm on Figure Fight Club. I do a Transformers show 15 p.m. Eastern.
Hey, why 15? Just wondering why.
Because some nights like I said earlier, I have a second job. I work at a liquor store.
Okay.
Slash drive-through, and sometimes I don't get out of it. We close at 9:30, so depending on if it's busy at the end of the night, it might take a little bit longer to get out of there. So just wanted to give enough time to be able to start the show and not rush. So 10:15 Monday, p.m. Eastern, Transformer show. It's called Decepticast. It's on the Figure Fight Club channel. We also have on Figure Fight Club, Tuesday night is open mic night. Anybody can come, join, talk, show your toys off, join the discussion. If you want to get on YouTube and be like one of us knuckleheads, I don't know why you'd want to. You better have a bald head, that kind of thing that YouTubers have. least some of them I.
That's
watched.
a Tuesday thing. That's a Tuesday.
Tuesday thing.
Only,
And then Friday.
Only bald people on Tuesdays.
Yeah. What Punk said. And then Friday nights is our interview show in Figure Fight Club. Typically, it's people in the industry, developers, Kickstarters, stuff like that. So yeah, go check that out. Figure Fight Club.
All right, and the Instagram. I only do Instagram and YouTube. I have other ones, but I don't understand X. I've never understood X. Someone, they respond. I'm like, I don't know how to find it. I don't know how to respond to you. I feel bad.
Yeah, I just throw stuff up.
Yeah, YouTube, Instagram are in the description. So go over there, give them a follow. Ron,
Thanks for having me.
Talib, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Like you said, I have a lot of people that are like, I give you like an hour, and then it's like, we're going on 4 hours, and they're like, I could keep going. I'm like, yeah, I know I could too. That's my problem.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And everyone else, go check them out. You know where you can find me. I'll be on Monday once again because I have no life. Take care.
Good night.